Chapter 1492. Go out with me, Yang Qingluan said arrogantly. Tianyang was stunned. What do you mean? Of course. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan proudly straightened her chest and said, As my attendant, what kind of rubbish are you wearing? Even my spirit dog can only tear it as if it's cloth, let alone wear it. It just so happens that my suitor sent me a set of clothes. I'll give it to you. If you want my help, then put it on for me, Yang Qingluan said. Tianyang's mouth twitched and he could only nod. This woman. Why do I feel like she's a little stupid? Did this fellow forget about my previous display of strength? I don't believe that Ling Yuhan will chop your head off with her sword. Humph. Ling Yuhan snorted at the right time, which made Yang Qingluan come to her senses. It seems that I'm the weaker one? But if master has something good to wear, you can wear it, Ling Yuhan said. After all, when Tianyang came from the Tianshao Great World to the Xiantian Great World, he either bought it from the roadside or picked it up from the ground. Ling Yuhan was tired of it. Hearing this, Tianyang could only nod in agreement. I didn't expect that guy surnamed Jiang to have a good eye for clothes. Looking at Tianyang, who finished changing in an instant, Yang Qingluan's face showed a trace of satisfaction. Before his rebirth, Tianyang, the young master of the Tian family, was at most an ordinary and delicate man. After Tianyang's rebirth, he became more and more like Tianyang in his previous life. After the baptism of the world origin, Tianyang's appearance also changed greatly. It was not wrong to say that he was handsome. Now, with the clothes from the realm of the gods, even the cuffs were upper-grade spiritual weapons. He looked like a different person. Master is so handsome. For Ling Yuhan, there were not so many adjectives. I don't feel any different from before. Tianyang pursed his lips and swung his right hand. Streams of tyrannical true essence appeared in the surroundings. Each of them released an incomparably terrifying aura. Not bad, my Jin Yuan has recovered a bit. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the divine world was much more abundant than in the Xiantian Great World. Tianyang hadn't been able to recover even 1% of the origin of chaos in the past few hours in the Xiantian macro world. Now, he had recovered at least 5%. In that case I can. Qingluan, what are you doing? Just as Yang Qingluan was about to leave, a roar full of jealousy sounded from the side. Although she hadn't seen that person yet, Yang Qingluan's face showed a disgusted expression. Jiang is here. Let's go. Why is this pretty boy wearing the clothes that I gave you? The young man roared furiously with bloodshot eyes. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan's face suddenly became disdainful. Jiang, do I need you to tell me what to do? Furthermore, this is my residence. It's not a place where you can come and go as you please. Get out of here. What? The young man who seemed to be surnamed Jiang looked like he was struck by lightning. He looked at Yang Qingluan in disbelief. Qingluan, how could you treat me like this, Scram? I'd like to see if this pretty boy is worth your protection. The young man surnamed Jiang's eyes burned with anger and jealousy. It almost destroyed his rationality. In the next moment, he pounced on Tianyang. What are you doing? Tianyang raised an eyebrow when he heard this. He didn't have time to withdraw his Zhen Yuan and turned to look at the young man surnamed Jiang curiously. His eyes were still burning with the undying flame that he had just experimented with. Coincidentally, his eyes met the young man's. Suddenly, waves of fire surged toward the young man with the surname Jiang. They turned into a sea of fire and seemed to want to devour him. Wah! The young man's expression changed drastically, and he abruptly stopped in his tracks. His face, which had been flushed with rage, also turned deathly pale at this moment. His entire body trembled like a sieve. That's, the young man surnamed Jiang froze on the spot. His eyes were unfocused and unfocused. At this moment, Tianyang withdrew his undying divine flame and glanced at the young man with the surname Jiang curiously. Who is this? Your friend? Who's his friend? Yang Qingluan jumped up when she heard this. He's just an idiot who thinks too highly of himself. Don't worry about him. Let's go. Hearing this, Tianyang shrugged and no longer paid any attention. He stored all the true yuan in his body into his dantian and planned to leave. Half a day passed. The young man surnamed Jiang finally regained his senses. He shuddered and looked around. The grass was still the same grass and the trees were still the same, as if nothing had happened. Or rather, nothing had happened. Even Tianyang didn't know that his undying bloodline had mutated after his rebirth. The lethality of the undying I was no longer limited to the physical body. It had also strengthened the primordial spirit. Although the lethality of the primordial spirit wouldn't be of much use in Tianyang's battle, it was more than enough to deal with a weakling like the young man surnamed Jiang. When did such a powerful man appear by Yang Qingluan's side? The young man surnamed Jiang felt a deep sense of danger. However, his pupils shrank the next moment as if he had realized something. Oh no! I have to inform young Master Wang about tomorrow's banquet. The young man surnamed Jiang didn't bother to chase after Yang Qingluan and hurriedly rushed out of the princess's mansion. Although Tianyang was in the princess's mansion, he didn't forget his purpose of contacting Yang Qingluan. Now, he more or less understood the situation he was in. The god realm was incomparably huge. Although the princess seemed to have a high status, she didn't know as much about the god realm as Tianyang had imagined. However, she still let Tianyang know where he was. God Realm, Cloudfire Territory, Xuanhua Dynasty, Qingyuan City. The strongest existence in Qingyuan City was a half-saint emperor. Most of them were below the Great Saint Realm. However, the weakest among them was at the Sea of Spirit Realm. In this regard, it was much stronger than the Xiantian Great World and Tianshao Great World. According to Yang Qingluan, the Xuanhua Dynasty and Cloudfire Territory were just a corner of the God Realm. The God Realm is really huge. Tianyang sighed and waved his hand. The purity, precision, and vastness of the spiritual qi that he had casually gathered far surpassed any of the heavenly treasure lands in the Xiantian Great World. Tomorrow, I'll have some fun first. I wonder if I can recover 10% by tonight. Then, Tianyang entered a state of cultivation. The divine wilderness heaven spirit art was activated. Streams of spiritual qi of heaven and earth surged into Tianyang's body. Chapter 1493. The next day. It is indeed difficult to fully recover the chaos origin. I should have prioritized the recovery of the way of the sword first. Tianyang sighed. That night, he put all his focus on gathering the chaos qi and recovering the chaos origin as soon as possible. As a result, Tianyang did not manage to gather much chaos qi, and his true yuan did not recover much either. However, this true yuan is enough to deal with anyone below the half-holy emperor level. Tianyang smiled faintly and walked out. Unfortunately, the vast expanse saint spirit seemed to have exhausted its true yuan while resisting the God Realm storm in the passage to the God Realm. Now, it seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Tianyang felt it was a pity. Outside, Yang Qingluan and Ling Yuhan had been waiting for a long time. You made me wait for so long. If not for the fact that I need your help, I would have kicked you out long ago. Yang Qingluan put her hands on her hips and said unreasonably. Hearing that, Tianyang smiled and walked out. It was not until the second day after he came to the God Realm that Tianyang saw the real God Realm. Countless meridians in his body seemed to have opened up at this moment, like a hungry beast that wanted to devour all the spiritual energy of the heavens and earth. Tianyang had the impulse to find a cave and hide in it, then go into seclusion for a few months to recover to his peak state and beat the world. Unfortunately, reality did not allow him to do so. This banquet is organized by another local tyrant family in Qingyuan City, the Wang family. I was having a good time at home, but they insisted on inviting me here. Your task later is to help me fend off people like that Jiang guy from yesterday. After you're done, I'll show you a treasure. Yang Qingluan smiled. Hearing that, Tianyang smiled indifferently. Soon, Tianyang and the other two came to the most majestic restaurant in Qingyuan City. Rather than calling it a restaurant, it was more appropriate to call it a hall. It looked extremely grand and luxurious, even compared to the Royal City Hall of the Snow Wind Royal City that Tianyang had seen in the Tianshao Great World. It was much more luxurious. However, Tianyang didn't care. He didn't care how many restaurants there were. However, this situation reminded Tianyang of the time when he was still in the Arctic state. There shouldn't be any idiots like Li Wenjiang this time. Tianyang chuckled softly. Ling Yuhan, who was beside him, seemed to have thought of something and giggled. The next moment, a sharp voice rang out. "Welcome, Princess Qingluan. Please come in." After that, Tianyang and the others saw a woman appear at the entrance of the restaurant. The woman looked like a prostitute, and her face was full of contempt. When she looked at Yang Qingluan, she became extremely enthusiastic. "Oh, I remember your surname is." "Forget it, I can't remember. Don't worry about her," Yang Qingluan said casually and walked through the door. However, just as Tianyang and Yang Qingluan were about to enter, the woman stretched out her right hand and looked at Tianyang with disdain and contempt. "I'm sorry, the banquet held by the Wang family this time is to invite Princess Qingluan. Outsiders don't have the right to enter. Go back where you came from. My Wang family's restaurant doesn't accept guests." Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change, but Yang Qingluan's expression changed. "I brought Yang Tian here. Does your Wang family dare to?" Slap. A loud sound rang out. Tianyang looked indifferent and slowly withdrew his right hand. He didn't even bother to look at her and walked in. "I'm sorry, I feel that the realm of the gods is no different from before." As for the woman, she was sent flying dozens of feet away by the slap. She spat out a mouthful of blood and nearly fainted. Fortunately, although this person was a little retarded, she was still an advanced saint. Tianyang deliberately held back this slap. Otherwise, the woman wouldn't even have the chance to spit out blood. Why is Li Wenjiang so angry? Ling Yuhan was speechless, and Tianyang walked in directly. On the contrary, Yang Qingluan, who wanted to protect Tianyang, was stunned. Seeing that pretty face distorted by the slap, she actually felt a little satisfied? No. This is someone from the Wang family. You hit her just like that? Yang Qingluan said in disbelief. The Wang family was the strongest family in Qingyuan City. Even if she was a princess and was doted on by the king, she didn't dare to offend the Wang family. An existence that even the monarch was afraid of. Yang Tian slapped her. Hearing this, Tianyang looked at Yang Qingluan strangely. As you wish. He couldn't be bothered to listen to this woman. He slapped her until her face was distorted and she couldn't speak. He didn't know how many people like her he had slapped. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan was furious. This was the Wang family. The Wang family, which was arrogant in Qingyuan City, and the head of the family used to be an elder of a huge sect in the Xuanhua dynasty. Not to mention Yang Qingluan, even the princess, who was one level higher than Yang Qingluan, didn't want to offend them. Forget it, I usually know people with some ability in the Wang family. Since I don't know this guy, he shouldn't be important. I should be able to handle this small matter. Yang Qingluan sighed and said. Hearing this, Tianyang shrugged. The strongest person was only a half-saint emperor? The king was probably the only immortal in the Xuanhua dynasty. In that case, what was there to be afraid of? However, Tianyang wasn't familiar with Yang Qingluan. After solving this matter, he could leave. Seeing this, Yang Qingluan could only be speechless. Then, she led Tianyang and the other two into the banquet. Princess Qingluan has arrived. When the door opened, Yang Qingluan regained her composure and walked into the venue with a face full of arrogance. At the same time, in the next moment, countless pairs of eyes shot toward Yang Qingluan. Yang Qingluan frowned slightly, sensing that something was wrong. In the next moment, there was a loud bang. Boom. Countless flames bloomed in front of Yang Qingluan. In the next moment, they turned into countless magnificent flame flowers. Then, a handsome and dignified young man in a luxurious robe appeared in front of Yang Qingluan. Princess Qingluan, I have a presumptuous request. A vigorous voice sounded. Around the handsome young man, layers of heavenly supreme saint vital energy were released, forming circles of flower formations. I, Wang Ling-un, the young master of the Wang family, hope to become cultivation companions with your highness. I hope your highness will grant my wish. The handsome young man smiled. In the next moment, the entire banquet hall was filled with these flaming flowers. Seeing this, Yang Qingluan was dumbfounded. At this moment, a voice slowly sounded. Chapter 1494. Since it's a presumptuous request, then shut up, Tianyang said with a smile. Hearing this, the young master of the Wang family, Wang Lingen, who was still proposing romantically, suddenly had a gloomy expression. Who are you? The flaming flowers burning in the surroundings suddenly disappeared. Killing intent flashed in Wang Lingen's eyes. That's right. Since it's a presumptuous request, then don't say it. At this moment, Yang Qingluan finally reacted and said angrily, Wang Lingen, although you're the young master of the Wang family, I, Yang Qingluan, am the princess of the Xuanhua dynasty. To do this in public, are you looking down on the Xuanhua dynasty? Yang Qingluan was about to explode with anger. It was because of the Wang family that she came to this banquet, but the moment she came, she was thoroughly disgusted. Hearing this, Wang Lingen's expression became even more unsightly. Qingluan, you don't have to be so heartless. Don't call me Qingluan. Yang Qingluan said coldly, Yang Tian, let him leave. I remember that only those who have received an invitation can enter my Wang family restaurant today. I've never seen these two people before. How did they get in without an invitation? Wang Lingen said coldly. However, his excellent self-restraint prevented him from making a move immediately. Master? Ling Yuhan also looked at Tianyang strangely. According to her knowledge, Tianyang was not the kind of person who would meddle in other people's business. They broke in. Tianyang said indifferently. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. Broke in? What's wrong with my cousin? Hearing this, Wang Lingen's expression changed slightly. He stared at Tianyang and said. Then, he looked at Yang Qingluan. Princess Qingluan, I advise you to get rid of irrelevant people as soon as possible. After all, the Wang family's restaurant is not a place where anyone can come and go as they please, especially this kind of thug. Wang Lingen said coldly, Moreover, although you're a princess, in terms of power, you should be inferior to my Wang family. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan's face also turned ugly. Although he didn't say it clearly, the hidden meaning in his words was already very obvious. As you wish, I'm too lazy to explain. However, could you please explain what the rosemary in the flower of flame was for? Tianyang smiled and said, The grade of this rosemary is not low. Even in the God realm, it is not easy to find. Young Master Wang spent a lot of effort to invite Princess Qingluan over, and then purposely released a large amount of incomparably romantic sea of flame flowers. He shouldn't have mixed this in it for a joke, right? Hearing this, Wang Lingen's face suddenly turned gloomy. Moreover, I happen to know about this rosemary. Its spreading range is less than 3 meters. You should be able to choose someone who can be less than 3 meters away from you. Can you please tell me? Tianyang's fingertips slowly ignited a trace of true flames of destruction, burning the invisible fragrance. Indeed, Tianyang couldn't be bothered to care about what happened to Yang Qingluan. However, if Ling Yuhan was poisoned by this rosemary, it would be very troublesome to deal with it even with Tianyang's alchemy cultivation that had condensed the alchemy origin. Therefore, Tianyang directly opened his mouth and used true flames of destruction at the same time. He sucked all the rosemary into his palm and burned it with true flames of destruction. Only then did Wang Lingan not succeed. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan's face also darkened. Although she didn't know the effect of the rosemary, she was only about 3 meters away from Wang Lingan. If she was hit, the consequences, this was the God realm. Even an ordinary 9 nether saint body might not be able to resist the rosemary of the God realm. Young Master Wang used rosemary? Impossible. Young Master Wang has been pursuing Princess Qingluan. How could he use this method in public? But the Wang family is used to being domineering in Qingyuan City. Anything is possible. It's hard to predict people's hearts. Shut up. Qingyuan City is the Wang family's world. What nonsense are you talking about here? Suddenly, countless people in the hall whispered. Hearing these discussions, Wang Lingan's face turned even uglier. Especially those who were specifically targeting him and Princess Qingluan. When they fell into his ears, he was about to explode. According to his plan, the rosemary that he specially bought had an extremely limited range of effect, and the effect was not ordinary. Once inhaled, it would soften. It was bound with a trace of his primordial spirit power. As long as Princess Qingluan inhaled a trace, she would be under his control. Naturally, he would complete the proposal that Tianyang had previously ruined. In the end, who knew that Tianyang would appear out of nowhere? I don't know what you're talking about, but I want you to know that the Wang family will not allow anyone to slander us. Wang Lingan's eyes were full of murderous intent. In an instant, the true origin of a heavenly great saint bloomed. Suddenly, the pupils of countless guests shrank, and they looked at Wang Lingan in disbelief. Heavenly great saint. When did young Master Wang break through to heavenly great saint? Young Master Wang is not even 100 years old this year. He actually stepped into the heavenly great saint realm. Such talent, even in the entire Enigma Fire dynasty, is considered an incomparable existence. As expected of the grandson of the great Sun Sect's former 15th elder. The moment Wang Lingan displayed his strength, the previous discussions about the rosemary changed instantly. Wang Lingan, the young master of Qingyuan City's Wang family, was only 87 years old today. At 87 years old, he stepped into the heavenly great saint realm. Enough to enter the top 500 of the Cloud Fire Territory's star list. Now you know how terrifying the Wang family is. Hearing so many praises and shock, Wang Lingan instantly became incomparably arrogant. The strength of the top 500 of the star list. This is my Wang family's, my Wang Lingan's, confidence. A lowly ant like you, not to mention slandering the Wang family, even appearing beside Princess Qingluan is a sin. Wang Lingan laughed wildly. In the next moment, flames condensed in his hand and turned into a long saber. Now, it's time for me to judge your sins. The heavenly great saint's true origin suddenly erupted. The entire hall was illuminated by the blazing flame, and everyone was astonished. Tianyang, sighing, Tianyang thought about the true origin that he had just recovered and decided not to use it. He took a step forward. He pointed lightly with a finger. Boom! The flaming long saber that illuminated heaven and earth, and the sea of flames that shocked everyone, disappeared. Wang Lingan's entire chest caved in, and he spat out a mouthful of dirty blood as he crashed heavily into the wall. Tianyang's expression was indifferent. With a wave of his hand, Wang Lingan's dimensional ring fell into his hand. You have quite a lot in stock. Tianyang glanced at it, and a black flame burned in his hand. The dimensional ring melted and disappeared. Son! At this moment, a middle-aged man strode over and looked at Wang Lingan, who was spurting blood at his feet in disbelief. Who? You hurt my son? The aura of a peak half-saint emperor was released. Chapter 1495. Who dares to hurt the son of Wang Ba? The aura of a half-step holy emperor swept across the entire place. Then, a terrifying and overbearing true origin exploded. At the door, a middle-aged man whose muscles had swelled to the point that his clothes were about to explode was glaring at everyone present. He looked incomparably ferocious and furious. At his feet, Wang Lingen, who had been severely injured by Tianyang, was completely unconscious. Seeing this, the expressions of everyone present changed drastically. Wang Ba! Why is he here? Wang Ba is the current head of the Wang family. Shouldn't someone of this level be in the Wang family? Why would he appear at the banquet of the younger generation? How is it impossible? Even Wang Lingen gave rosemary to Princess Qing Luan. Wang Ba saw that Wang Lingen might not be able to control the situation, so he came to support his son. Isn't this normal? Let's not talk about this first. Even a half-step holy emperor like Wang Ba is here. I don't know what his name is, but he came with Princess Qing Luan. I'm afraid he's doomed. Everyone was discussing. They were not afraid that Wang Ba would attack them. Those who were invited by Wang Lingen were all powerful existences in Qingyuan City. Even if the Wang family covered the sky in Qingyuan City, they would not easily do anything to them. However, Qingyuan City, although it was not far from the center of the Xuanhua dynasty, the royal family's control over Qingyuan City was not strong enough. Although Princess Qingluan was a princess, she was still a duckweed in Qingyuan City. She had no roots. She might be able to protect herself, but it was impossible for her to protect the young man who attacked Wang Lingen. Princess Qingluan, I remember that today is the day Ling An decided to propose to you. Why did he fall here? Wang Ba's face was ferocious. He scanned the entire hall and said coldly to Yang Qingluan. Under Wang Ba's terrifyingly overbearing gaze, the entire hall, which was abuzz with discussion, suddenly became quiet. The strongest among them was only a spiritual grade great saint. In front of Wang Ba, who was a half-step holy emperor, they did not have the slightest ability to fight back. The entire banquet hall was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. Even if Princess Qingluan doesn't want to, she shouldn't have attacked Ling An. Moreover, she injured him so severely. Wang Ba glanced at Wang Lingen at his feet. Blood spurted from his mouth. He was severely injured, but he wasn't dead yet. Although most of it was caused by the backlash of the previous move that was easily broken by Tianyang, Wang Ba could also see that. However, Wang Ba had to be domineering to the end. Even when facing Yang Qingluan, the princess of the Xuanhua dynasty, it was still the same. This was because he was the patriarch of the Wang clan in Qingyuan City, the half-holy emperor Wang Ba. Wang Ling An used rosemary and tried to plot against me. My protector repelled him. What's wrong with that? Yang Qingluan was silent for a while, then she raised her head, looked straight at Wang Ba, and said firmly. Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. Was Yang Qingluan courting death? That was Wang Ba. Even if you are a princess of a country, you are nothing in Wang Ba's eyes. What's wrong? Hearing this, Wang Ba was a little surprised. Then, his face quickly darkened. My son, Wang Ling An, is upright, elegant, and polite. How could he use such a filthy thing like rosemary? Princess Qingluan, although you are a princess, since you have insulted my son, Wang Ling An, and the young master of the Wang clan, then don't blame me for disregarding the dignity of the Xuanhua dynasty. Wang Ba snorted coldly, and the half-holy emperor's true origin began to circulate. A terrifying aura suppressed the entire place. No matter what the cultivation of these Qingyuan city's genius disciples was, they were all suppressed by this powerful aura until they could not breathe. Is this the power of a half-holy emperor? Facing Wang Ba, the aura that Yang Qingluan endured was the most terrifying. At this moment, she was like a small boat in the middle of a raging storm, and there was a risk of capsizing at any time. Her cultivation was only at the spiritual grade great saint. In front of a half-holy emperor, it was not worth mentioning. Princess Qingluan, please excuse me. Wang Ba sneered, and an undetectable lustful light flashed in his eyes. He reached out his hand and was about to capture Yang Qingluan. At this moment, 2 fingers suddenly appeared. With a gentle pinch, Wang Ba's big hand was sandwiched between the 2 fingers. Tortoise? What a good name! Tianyang smiled slightly and looked at Wang Ba in front of him. Who are you? Wang Ba was also shocked. When Tianyang reached out 2 fingers and pinched his palm, he did not notice Tianyang's whereabouts at all. Not to mention discovering. He did not even notice at all. However, Tianyang was standing beside Yang Qingluan from the beginning to the end. Me? Hearing this, Tianyang smiled slightly and pinched his fingers. Damn it! Seeing this, Wang Ba's face darkened. He was about to withdraw his palm, but to his horror, he realized that Tianyang's 2 slender white fingers looked weak and powerless. However, it was like an iron clamp that tightly clamped his palm. No matter how hard he tried, he could not move an inch. I am someone you can't afford to offend. Tianyang chuckled and let go. Without the heavenly sun to balance it out, the huge force immediately acted on Wang Ba. Wang Ba was also caught off guard. He took a few steps back and directly broke through the door. Bang! Wood chips flew, and a lot of them landed on Wang Ba's head. Wang Ba's clothes were also full of a pile of debris and dust. He looked extremely miserable. How dare you? Wang Ba did not need to look to know how miserable his appearance was now. And the initiator of all this was just a young man in front of him who had a faint smile on his face from the beginning. Go to hell. Wang Ba's eyes were spitting fire. With a roar, the half-holy emperor's vital essence exploded. Explosive flame extreme body. Powerful flames burned on Wang Ba's body. His entire person was like a fire giant, erupting with a terrifying force and punched towards Tianyang. Dark hell explosion. Boom! Flames gathered at a single point and exploded abruptly. In an instant, the entire hall and all the objects were ignited by the terrifying flames. In the blink of an eye, they turned into ashes. Countless people coughed up blood as they were sent flying by the powerful oppressive might. However, as the person who took the hit directly, Tianyang merely smiled faintly, as if it didn't matter. Then, he pointed his finger. He used 5% of his vital essence. Boom! The dark hell explosion disappeared. The flames were extinguished. The explosive flame extreme body, the fire giant, all of them disappeared at this moment. Wang Ba spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body flew backward and slammed heavily into the wall. If it was not for the protection of the array, this wall would have shattered. Wang Ba opened his eyes with difficulty, but his eyes met with Tianyang's fingertip. It was swallowing and spitting out rays of sharp light. Take a guess. If I kill you, who would dare to oppose me? Chapter 1496. If I kill you, who would dare to oppose me? Tianyang smiled faintly and pointed his finger at Wang Ba's eyes. It was as if the person in front of him was not the head of the Wang clan in Qingyuan City, someone that even the imperial family of the Xuanhua dynasty feared. Instead, he was like an ant on the road. Wang Ba swallowed his saliva and wanted to say something to redeem his dignity as the head of the Wang clan, a powerful half-holy emperor. However, the flickering finger light was telling him that, if he were to attack, he would die. This fugitive who came out of nowhere might really be able to kill him. What about me? Tianyang smiled. However, in the next moment, he noticed something and raised his eyebrows. The Wang clan is really idle. When the young one was beaten up, the old one came. When the old one was beaten up, an even older one came. If I were to beat up this older one, wouldn't the old ancestor of your Wang clan come back to life and seek revenge from me? Tianyang said. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. What older one? Wang Ba was the person with the highest seniority in the Wang family of Qingyuan City. Those who were higher in seniority seemed to have already left or gone to the afterlife. No. In the next moment, someone noticed a blind spot, and his face gradually turned pale. The Wang clan still has, what else? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Could it be that the Wang clan still had some secret weapon? However, in the next moment, someone's face changed. Could it be the one from the Wang clan is here? Its mother. At this moment, Wang Ba also sensed the aura approaching quickly, and his eyes were filled with ecstasy. Ah! Now that mother is here, you're dead for sure. Those who dared to humiliate the Wang clan in Qingyuan City will never be able to survive in one piece. Wang Ba laughed loudly as he looked at Tianyang with a mocking expression. Although I don't know where you came from, don't think that you can do whatever you want in Qingyuan City just because you have some strength. You might be proud of your strength in other cities, but in Qingyuan City, the only price you have to pay for your actions is death. A single saint emperor is enough to make you so arrogant? Hearing this, the corner of Tianyang's lips curled up and he revealed a playful expression. In the next moment, the space opened. An old woman walked out from within. The old woman's figure was stooped, and her face was incomparably old. She looked like she could pass away at any moment. However, when they saw this person, the faces of everyone present, including Yang Qingluan, completely changed. Previously, when Wang Ba appeared, some of them did not think much of it. However, when this old woman appeared, everyone was terrified. The previous Grand Elder of the Wang clan was also the former 15th Elder of the outer sect of the Xuanhua dynasty's Great Sun sect. Bar. When the old woman appeared, she did not look at the crowd immediately. Instead, she saw Wang Ba lying on the ground, who had his killing move easily broken by Tianyang and was seriously injured by the backlash. After a cry of surprise, she rushed forward. After confirming that Wang Ba's life was not in danger, she turned around. Then, she saw Wang Ling, lying on the ground unconscious. Ling An. The old woman looked at Wang Ling and in disbelief. She reached out and Wang Ling fell into her hands. After putting Wang Ba and Wang Ling down, she raised her head and looked at the crowd. Why, my Ba and Ling were fine before we set off. As soon as they arrived here, they became like this, the old woman said. The wrinkles on her face tightened, and her tone was high as she looked at the crowd sharply. Then, she looked at Yang Qingluan. Yang Qingluan? You're just a princess of the royal family. It's your blessing that my Ling likes you. Today, I'm here to propose to you. That's a blessing that you can't get even in 8 lifetimes. You immoral fellow, how dare you attack Ling An? The old woman said coldly. In the next moment, she pointed her finger. With a sharp killing intent, she ruthlessly charged towards Yang Qingluan. Holy Emperor Realm. Yang Qingluan's beautiful face immediately turned pale, and she took a few steps back. On the side, Ling Yuhan immediately made her move. She activated the 9 Nether Frost art and froze this casual attack. There's also a little girl. I don't know her, but it's not bad to be my Ling An's concubine. The old woman, on the other hand, looked at Ling Yuhan and sneered. A suction force was released from her aged palm, locking onto Ling Yuhan. Seeing this, Tianyang's eyes flashed with sharpness. He directly made his move and cut off this traction force. The old woman's expression changed slightly as she looked at Tianyang. Where did this uneducated bastard come from? How dare you attack me? The old woman sneered. Where did this dog come from? I was choosing a concubine for my Ling, and didn't see it. Get out. Seeing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They had long heard that the Wang family, the former 15th elder of the Great Sun sect, was extremely domineering. Seeing it today, they did not expect it to be true. In other words, it was far beyond the scope of being domineering. There were also some young aristocratic family disciples who were angered by the old woman's attitude. However, they dared not speak out. Why would the royal family be afraid of a small family far away in Qingyuan City, whose family head was only a half-holy emperor? It was because this family had a relationship with the Great Sun sect. This old woman was the former 15th elder of the Great Sun sect. Although her cultivation was only at the Holy Emperor realm, her status was far from what ordinary Holy Emperors could compare to. In the Great Sun sect, the outer elders were at least Holy Emperors. The inner elders were at least demigods, and the sect master was a terrifying existence in the god realm. The Xuanhua dynasty was only a small dynasty in the Cloudfire territory, and the Great Sun sect was the overlord of the entire Cloudfire territory. The Cloudfire territory of the 10,000 realms in the divine world was not considered weak. Ha ha ha! Wang Ba laughed maniacally when he saw this. Weren't you very arrogant just now? You even beat up Ling En? You even dare to kill me? My mother is the former 15th elder of the Great Sun sect. Do you dare to make a move? Don't give these two girls to Ling En first. Let me play with them first. Don't you think so, mother? Wang Ba laughed maniacally. Hearing this, the old woman raised her eyebrows and nodded. Whatever Ba says is right. However, I didn't expect that a little bastard like you would be the one who attacked Ba and Ling En. As the old woman spoke, she suddenly made a move. Come here. Slap yourself 30,000 times, then kill yourself. The old woman shouted and released her Holy Emperor True Origin. A strong traction force acted on Tianyang's body. Tianyang's body moved and was actually moved by this traction force. Seeing this, Wang Ba's expression became even more arrogant. At this moment, Tianyang raised his right hand and a black flowing light shot out. It slashed down. Swish. Chapter 1497. Boom. The black sword slashed out and fell. The old woman's right arm was suddenly broken. Who would listen to you so much nonsense? Tianyang curled his lips and released the power of the primordial spirit. Controlling the great void sword embryo, it was another sword. Boom. The old woman's left arm was the same. Blood splashed out from one side and broke on the other. Patter. Falling, bleeding, until her vitality was gone. The old woman was stunned on the spot, looking at her feet in disbelief. Because the true flames of destruction had destroyed all the vitality on it, even if she wanted to reattach her arms. It meant, if she didn't use her vital essence to condense her arms, then she would be an armless person from now on. Ah 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 ah! The old woman screamed crazily. Her voice was so sharp that it seemed to tear the entire restaurant apart. Everyone, including Wang Ba and Yang Qinghuan, was dumbfounded. Especially Yang Qinghuan. She already regretted bringing Tianyang here. Since she knew that Tianyang was very strong, she would give him whatever he wanted and then send him away. She knew that Tianyang was very arrogant. He even dared to hit Wang Lingen and Wang Ba. However, she didn't expect that. The top 15 elders of the Great Sun sect, an existence that even the monarch was afraid of, Tianyang dared to hit. First, he cut off her arms. So, why do you want to die? Tianyang took back the great void sword embryo and burned the true flames of destruction, burning away all the blood on it. Although it was not stained with a trace of blood. The old woman's pupils constricted. Just as she was about to raise her hand to point at Tianyang, she found that her arms had been broken. This old woman will kill you! The old woman screamed and rushed fiercely at Tianyang. Tianyang's expression did not change. The true flames of destruction burned, forming a wall of fire in front of him. The old woman even stopped a few meters away from the wall of fire. She did not dare to go over. Even if she was a saint emperor. Mother's arms were cut off? At this moment, Wang Ba finally reacted and looked in front of him in disbelief. Wang Lingen was seriously injured, and he himself was seriously injured. The Wang family's greatest backer had his arms cut off by Tianyang. The entire Wang clan, from young to old, had been defeated by Tianyang alone. You're courting death. Ah! Wang Ba's words were incoherent. The Tianyang actually dared to confront a colossus like the Great Sun sect? Was he not afraid of death? Any random saint emperor would be able to crush him. As you wish. Tianyang smiled faintly and waved his right hand. The true flames of destruction fell into Tianyang's hands and disappeared. At the same time, he walked towards the old woman. What are you going to do? Don't come over. At this moment, the old woman was no longer as arrogant and domineering as before. Standing in front of Tianyang, she was trembling like an ant. She was the previous 15th elder of the Great Sun sect. Therefore, there was not a single person in the entire Enigma Fire dynasty who was not afraid of her. However, this predecessor had been here for decades. Not to mention whether the Great Sun sect would hunt someone down for a 15th elder who was insignificant in the Great Sun sect decades ago. She was dead, but she was really dead. Even if she wanted to take revenge, it would be useless. The reason why the Enigma Fire dynasty's royal family was afraid was that they did not dare to take the risk. I don't want to do anything. Tianyang smiled and said. That's good. I'm the previous 15th elder of the Great Sun sect. Even the current monarch, who stepped into the godly state 3 years ago, is extremely respectful to me now. If you do anything to me, not to mention the Enigma Fire dynasty, you won't be able to stay in the entire Cloudfire territory, the old woman said sternly. Hearing that, Tianyang turned his head, and a faint killing intent flashed across his eyes. Seeing that, the old woman was scared out of her wits and took a few steps back. However, if you don't kill me, my Wang family can give you treasures. Sacred weapons, great sage weapons, even holy emperor weapons and semi-divine weapons can be given to you. The old woman seemed to be afraid that Tianyang would not agree and hurriedly said, even the beautiful girls of my Wang family, if you want, I can give them all to you. Hearing that, Tianyang shrugged. He really did not care about these things. Don't worry, I'm not interested in these things. Tianyang smiled slightly. Hearing that, the old woman heaved a sigh of relief. A vicious look flashed across her eyes. This guy who did not know his name actually dared to do this to her, the mother of the Wang family's patriarch, the most respected person in the entire Enigma Fire dynasty. When this guy let her go, with her power, she would be able to make this person beg for death. If she could find out the power behind this person, she would be able to destroy him immediately. On the side, Yang Qingluan also heaved a sigh of relief. If Tianyang really killed the old woman, then the matter would be blown up. It was naturally best if they could resolve it peacefully now. However, I feel that someone will come to kill me as soon as I leave. In that case, I'd better reluctantly be interested in something else. Tianyang's indifferent voice sounded. Hearing that, everyone was stunned. Why did these words sound so strange? Boom. A sound of air being torn apart sounded, and a bead of blood suddenly appeared between the old woman's brows. In the next moment, it turned into a bloody hole. Following that, there was an explosion. Boom. The old woman's body, primordial spirit, and true essence all turned into fragments at this moment and completely shattered. As for Wang Ba and Wang Ling-un, their bodies and primordial spirits were also directly blown apart by this terrifying explosion. The young master of the Wang family, Wang Ling-un, was dead. The patriarch of the Wang family, Wang Ba, was dead. The supreme elder of the Wang family, the former 15th elder of the Giant Sun sect, Wang Qiong, was dead. The 3 most important people of the Wang family's main bloodline were all dead. Seeing this, countless people were completely shocked and lost their voices. Their pupils constricted, and some even fainted in disbelief. Yang Qingluan was also completely stunned on the spot. Ling Yuhan, on the other hand, was used to it. With a casual wave of her hand, all the remaining traces were turned into ice, and then disappeared into ice dust. The messy hall and damaged walls were as if nothing had happened and nothing had ever been here. You killed the 3 most important people of the Wang family's main bloodline? Yang Qingluan said in a trembling voice. She had been in Qingyuan City for 3 to 4 years, and this Wang Ba, she had only seen him 2 or 3 times. Every time, he was high and mighty. This time, he was high and mighty, but he was also dead. The strongest family is only a saint emperor. Is there a need to keep them alive? Tianyang chuckled. By the way, what was the reward you wanted to give me before? The whole place was silent. This Xuanhua dynasty is indeed a small dynasty. In the entire dynasty, there is only one immortal realm expert, the monarch, and this immortal realm expert is just SOSO. Outside Qingyuan City, two young men laughed. Now, there is one last spot for the Cloudfire Dao competition. Let's give it to that Wang Qiong who was the 15th elder of the outer sect. That's good. Chapter 1498. What's the reward you're talking about? Tianyang smiled. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan was also dumbfounded. You've just killed the 3 most powerful people in Qingyuan City. That's enough to topple the entire city. Now you're asking me, an ordinary princess, for a reward? This difference made Yang Qingluan feel like she was in a dream. Reward? Yang Qingluan hadn't thought of what reward she would give Tianyang. If Tianyang didn't perform well, she might even go back on her word. But now, for a fellow who dared to kill even members of the Wang clan, it would be unwise for him to renege on his debt. In less than 3 seconds, she would become the 4th person to die at Tianyang's hands today. It's a cultivation paradise. Yang Qingluan racked her brains to come up with an answer that might satisfy Tianyang. This was an opportunity to cultivate that had been bestowed upon her a few days ago. Now, she was giving it to Tianyang. Although, the grade isn't very high. You might not be interested, all right? Tianyang nodded. It didn't matter to him whether the grade was high or not. With the spiritual energy of the God realm, even if Tianyang just stood where he would be able to recover in a few months. It would be even better if there was a cultivation paradise to assist him. Once he was fully recovered, Tianyang could look for opportunities to break through to the Holy Emperor level. Tianyang could afford to wait for a few months. He would shorten the cultivation paradise as much as possible. The more, the better. However, Tianyang didn't know that in Yang Qingluan's heart, he had become a demon king who killed without batting an eyelid. If she knew, she wouldn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then let's go. I'm a little tired. Tianyang smiled. The overall environment of the God Realm was very different from the Xiantian Great World and the Tianshao Great World. Today was Tianyang's first battle in the God Realm. It was normal that Tianyang wasn't used to it. Alright then, Yang Qingluan nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, for fear that Tianyang would be dissatisfied. Seeing this, Tianyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The heavens had pity on him. He had only done what he should have done. Qingyuan City. After Yang Qingluan left, the young disciples of the various aristocratic families in Qingyuan City who were at the banquet also dispersed. At the same time, he passed on the news of the Wang clan's main bloodline being killed by a single person to the other clans. Suddenly, the entire Qingyuan City. He was utterly horrified. The Wang clan had always stood at the top of the countless clans in Qingyuan City. Yet, in just a few hours of a banquet, it had been reduced to nothingness. No, it couldn't be considered nothingness. After all, the Wang clan only lost 3 people. However, these 3 people were equivalent to the entire Wang clan. However, the countless forces in Qingyuan City that were eyeing the position of the Wang family did not make a move immediately. In Qingyuan City, the Wang clan wasn't the only clan with a sacred emperor. Some of them were even in their prime, far stronger than Wang Qiong of the Wang clan. What they were afraid of was just the giant Sun sect. If the Wang clan died, so be it. The giant Sun sect was the existence that everyone feared. The Wang clan. The entire Wang clan was dead silent. There was no anger, only silence, or rather, fear. The former 15th elder of the giant Sun sect, who had protected the Wang clan for decades, had died. Then, who would protect the Wang clan? Will the people of the giant Sun sect come? In the Wang clan's meeting hall, someone couldn't help but ask. With a flip of his hand, he had killed a heavenly great saint, a half-holy emperor and a sacred emperor. Such strength really made the remaining members of the Wang clan unable to have the slightest intention to resist. After all, although the Wang clan was strong, they still mainly relied on the powerful pressure brought by Wang Qiong as the 15th elder of the Giant Sun sect. Their own strength wasn't strong. Therefore, the entire Wang clan was dead silent. That person didn't come to invade our Wang clan. Perhaps this is the only good news? Someone couldn't help but speak. Hearing this, someone's face darkened and he angrily rebuked, "Nonsense! This person killed the ancestor, the clan head, and the young clan head. Our Wang clan should be thinking about how to take revenge, not be a good-for-nothing here. But how can we take revenge?" With one sentence, the entire meeting hall was silent again. Suddenly, two laughter sounded. This should be the Wang clan of Qingyuan City. I wonder if Elder Wang Qiong is here? Two young men instantly appeared in the Wang clan's meeting hall. "Who are you?" Seeing this, the Wang clan members couldn't help but be aghast and shout. Hearing this, the two young men were stunned, then they chuckled, revealing a wave of arrogance and confidence. "We? Envoy of the Giant Sun sect." Just as the two envoys of the Giant Sun sect arrived at the Wang clan, Tianyang also began to recover with all his strength. Perhaps it was because of Tianyang's strength, or perhaps it was because Yang Qingluan really didn't want to break her promise, but after returning, she immediately let Tianyang enter the cultivation treasure land. The cultivation treasure land of the realm of the gods is really extraordinary. If this continues, I can even completely recover all 7 origins in 3 days. Tianyang sat cross-legged in a spirit-gathering array, circulating the divine desolate heaven's spiritual technique. Rolling spiritual energy flowed in his meridians, then poured into Tianyang's dantian. The light of the chaos origin became brighter and brighter. Compared to the recovery in Qingyuan City's Princess Mansion, it was countless times faster. This place was just a small cultivation treasure land of the Celestial Fire Dynasty, an ordinary and weak dynasty in the Cloudfire territory of the realm of the gods. However, although I didn't find any news about the Undying Emperor here, since the Undying Prince can reach the Divine Realm, and he's only an emperor, it proves that the Undying Emperor is definitely an extremely powerful force in the realm of the gods. Although my cultivation here is considered extremely fast, the cultivation resources that the Undying Prince can obtain are obviously countless times better than the Celestial Fire Dynasty. Tianyang's eyes flashed with an incomparably sharp light. It was not enough. Previously, the Undying Prince who had come to the Xiantian Great World was only a small divine power clone of the Undying Prince, and he had easily killed Tianyang. If it was the real him, he might be 100 times stronger than before. Now, Tianyang not only had to recover quickly, but he also had to quickly break through and become stronger. Rumble, the surrounding spiritual energy of the heaven and earth also seemed to shake the earth and the mountains as it crazily rushed toward Tianyang. Tianyang's true yuan was also recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Under the influence of the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the realm of the gods, the already extremely pure true yuan became even purer and stronger. Qingyuan City, Princess Mansion. "What are you doing?" Yang Qingluan shouted as she looked at the people of the Wang family, who rushed in and smashed the whole commandery princess's mansion into a mess without any reason. This is the Princess Mansion of the Celestial Fire Dynasty. Celestial Fire Dynasty? What a bold move. At this moment, 2 young men suddenly walked out, the corners of their mouths raised. "I wonder how the Great Sun sect compares to the Celestial Fire Dynasty?" Hearing this, Yang Qingluan instantly. Chapter 1499. I wonder how the Great Sun sect compares to the Xuanhua dynasty? One of the young men chuckled and waved the fan in his hand casually. There are many treasures in the Princess Mansion. Since the Xuanhua dynasty is so powerful, let's give some to the Great Sun sect. Wang family, take whatever you want. The young man smiled as if he was the owner of this place. Yang Qingluan's expression changed drastically. Stop! She was the princess sent by the Xuanhua dynasty to Qingyuan City. How could she let these people insult the dignity of the royal family? Give it to me. The young man smiled. Princess, you haven't answered me yet. Which one is stronger, the Great Sun sect or the Xuanhua dynasty? Hearing this, Yang Qingluan's face suddenly became very pale. Looking at how respectful the Wang clan was towards these two youths, in addition to the fact that Tianyang had killed the Great Sun sect's 15th elder with a flip of his hand, and the Wang clan's grand elder Wang Qiong yesterday, these two people, they must be the real emissaries of the Great Sun sect. Since you can't say, I'll have to trouble you a little. The young man chuckled and stretched out his hand. A powerful force of confinement immediately sealed Yang Qingluan's body. At the same time, Yang Qingluan was confined within 3 feet of him. I think that Yang Tian and his cultivation companion would not leave so soon after a few hours. To prevent the Xuanhua dynasty from taking unnecessary revenge, I won't do anything to you before they return. So, Princess Qingluan, please tell me where those two people went. The young man's lips curled into a smile. However, this smile was not a kind one. In Yang Qingluan's eyes, he was no different from a demon. Although the cultivation treasures of the divine realm are powerful enough, the devouring power of the divine wilderness heavenly spiritual technique is also terrifying after breaking through to a certain level. In the cultivation treasures, Tianyang looked helplessly at the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that had almost dried up. Previously, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was extremely pure. It turned into clouds and occasionally condensed into liquid and turned into fine rain. Now it was like a village that had been robbed by bandits. There was nothing left. Even if there was this seemingly high-grade spirit gathering array, Yang Qingluan wouldn't be able to enjoy it for 3 to 5 years. Originally, I wanted to try and see if I could condense an origin, or even the embryonic form of an origin. But now, it seems like I'll have to wait for the Heaven's Expanse Saint Spirit to awaken and ask her to tell me about the treasure left behind by the Heaven's Expanse Emperor. Tianyang sighed. Although he was unable to break through to the Saint Emperor realm with his current 7 origin forces, he would be able to do so in time. However, Tianyang's goal was far more than that. Ordinary sage emperors, even if they were extraordinarily talented, would only be able to prove their Tao with a single strand of origin energy. The Dragon Emperor, Sword God Lingtian, the Reincarnation Child, the Sacred Emperor Lai Yen, the Sacred Emperor Greenwood, and the World-Scorching Demon Emperor were the same. Even Sword God Lingtian, who was extraordinarily talented, only had 1 strand of origin energy. In the divine world, most people would only be able to prove their Tao with a single strand of origin energy. The Undying Prince might be strong, but he wouldn't be much stronger. Tianyang, on the other hand, had managed to condense the primal chaos origin by chance. It was the all-encompassing origin of all techniques. As long as he was strong enough, he could even condense 8, 9, or 10 strands of origin energy, let alone 7 strands of origin energy. This was also the first step for Tianyang to surpass the Undying Prince. However, it would have to be delayed for now. Yuhan, let's go. The opportunity to cultivate in a treasured land, Heavenly Sun naturally could not enjoy it alone. Ling Yuhan also entered. However, compared to Tianyang, who had only recovered to his peak state, Ling Yuhan's improvement was not small. Because her true Yuan had been replaced with the true Yuan condensed from the divine world's spiritual energy, Ling Yuhan directly broke through the threshold of the spiritual grade Great Saint to the earthly grade Great Saint and stepped into the ranks of the earthly grade Great Saints. If the Shao Zun Bodhisattva from the Xiantian Great World knew about this, they would probably cry themselves to death in the toilet. Yes, Master, Ling Yuhan said happily. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled lightly and waved his right hand. A powerful spacetime origin energy was released and tore apart the space, opening a space door. Then, Tianyang walked out with Ling Yuhan. It's already been 3 days. Why hasn't Yang Tian appeared? In the princess's residence, which was already in a mess, a young man looked gloomy as he listened to the reports from the people around him. On the second day, the young man felt that something was wrong and ordered the Wang family to search all over Qingyuan city. However, there was no trace of him. The only clue was that he was in the princess's residence. Then it was cut off. On the third day, the young man even revealed his identity as a messenger of the Great Sun sect and asked people to go to the city lord's residence to question the city lord. However, there were no clues. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. Moreover, the investigation of Yang Tian's previous experience was also empty. It was as if he had suddenly appeared. However, Yang Tian was the person who killed the former 15th elder of the Great Sun sect's outer sect. It was fine if the two of them did not pass by Qingyuan city. However, they passed by and came in. How could they not catch him? The young man could already imagine how he would be ridiculed by his senior and junior brothers when he returned to the Great Sun sect. Thinking of this, the young man's expression was extremely ugly. I don't know. Yang Qingluan snorted coldly and remained stubborn to the end. Although the two of them were messengers of the Great Sun sect, they were still afraid of the Xuanhua dynasty and did not dare to act rashly against her. Get lost! The young man's mood was already extremely bad. Yang Qingluan still talked back to him, so he shouted angrily. Waves of strong wind rushed toward Yang Qingluan fiercely. Each of them had the cultivation of a holy emperor. Such a young holy emperor? Seeing this, Yang Qingluan's expression changed drastically. Then, she gritted her teeth and used her cultivation of a peak spiritual grade great saint to try and block the strong wind of the holy emperor. Seeing this, the young man could not help but sneer. How can an ant block the power of a holy emperor? In the next moment, the young man's confinement force automatically disappeared. The strong wind also ruthlessly shattered Yang Qingluan's defense. Just as Yang Qingluan's face was pale and she was about to die, a faint voice slowly sounded. A holy emperor against a spiritual grade great saint doesn't seem to be very nice. Then, a spatial crack opened, and a hand reached out from it and directly crushed the strong wind. At the same time, a sharp light pierced toward the young man himself. Who is it? Seeing this, the young man's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly moved and blocked the sharp light. Then, countless sharp lights shot toward the young man at the same time. Since you're here, why don't you show yourself? At this moment, the other young man snorted coldly and released waves of space origin energy. The rain of sharp lights was instantly restrained by the frozen space. I'm afraid that if I show myself, you won't be able to withstand it. That laughter sounded again. In the next moment, the sharp lights directly shattered the frozen space. They charged toward the two of them. Chapter 1500. Bang, bang, bang. The defense that the two young men had formed in a hurry was useless against the rain of sharp blades. His robe, which was not of a low grade, was torn apart. Even the tough body under the robe was cut by the sharp blades, leaving wounds on it. Although the wounds were not big, they were horrifying when the number of sharp blades was taken into account. After a while, there was not a single part of the two young men's bodies that was intact. Other than their heads, their entire bodies were stained red with blood. Cowards who hide their heads and show their tails. The young man roared angrily, and the space origin energy in his hands exploded. Space quake. Then, the entire space in the princess's residence began to shake rapidly. Then, the other young man's hands started to burn with flames. Go to hell. He aimed at the only stable place in the space quake, and a dragon-shaped pillar of fire erupted. Using the enemy's instinct to stabilize his own place to find the enemy's location, and then launch a fatal attack? That's a good combination. Tianyang appeared, and his hands were also burning with flames. One was the pitch-black true flames of destruction, and the other was the pitch-black immortal fire. Then, they turned into missiles and collided with the dragon-shaped pillar of fire. Boom! In an instant, the dragon-shaped pillar of fire and the true flames of destruction broke into pieces. However, the one formed by the immortal fire was not affected at all, and it shot toward one of the young men. Damn it! Seeing this, the other young man's expression changed. Shield of the Black Tortoise. The space rippled like water, and the other young man's hands easily parted it. Then, it turned into a spinning space vortex, trying to block Tianyang's immortal fire. However, the immortal fire was much more powerful than the true flames of destruction. The space shield might be able to block the true flames of destruction, but it could not block the immortal fire. Boom! The space vortex shattered, and the two young men spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time, and they retreated a few steps. They didn't fly out? Seeing this, Tianyang was surprised. With the power of his move, if it were Saint Emperor Lai Yen, he would have flown out of Qingyuan City. The two young men only retreated a few steps. Who are you? After stabilizing himself with great difficulty, the young man who had comprehended the space origin raised his head and glared at Tianyang. Among the experts of the Enigma Fire Dynasty that I know, there's never been an expert as young as you. By the side, the young man who had comprehended the origin of flames also glanced at Tianyang with fear. I am Zhang Ming, an inner disciple of the Great Sun Sect. This is Ling Fei, also an inner disciple of the Great Sun Sect. May I know how we offended you for you to make a move on us? The emissary of the Great Sun Sect, Zhang Ming, who controlled the flame origin, said. Hearing this, Tianyang's face changed, and the corners of his mouth curved into a playful smile. On the other hand, Zhang Ming did not feel that anything was wrong at all. Tianyang had broken his and Ling Fei's strongest combined attack the moment he appeared. Such strength was far from what they could reach. There was nothing wrong with calling him senior. However, what Zhang Ming and Ling Fei did not notice was that the people of the Wang clan turned pale the moment they saw Tianyang. It was normal for the two emissaries from the Great Sun Sect, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei, to not recognize Tianyang's face. However, the Wang clan had obtained Tianyang's portrait at the first moment. Now that they saw Tianyang, they naturally recognized him at the first moment. My name is Yang Tian, Tianyang said with a smile. After knowing that these two people were from the Great Sun Sect, Tianyang knew that these two people were here to cause trouble. Seeing the two people's respectful expressions, he immediately felt that it was a little funny. Yang Tian? Hearing this, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei's pupils immediately shrank, and they looked at Tianyang in disbelief. This was the senior who had beaten them into a sorry state the moment he appeared and easily suppressed them. He was actually the Yang Tian they were looking for? How is this possible? Zhang Ming was the first to lose his voice. How can Yang Tian be so strong? Previously, they had heard that Tianyang had easily killed the 15th elder of the Great Sun Sect's outer sect, Wang Qiong, by himself, as well as Wang Ba, a half-holy emperor, and another heavenly great saint. However, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei, who knew the inside story, knew very well. The Great Sun Sect had 7 outer sects scattered throughout the vast Cloudfire territory. Although Wang Qiong was the previous 15th elder of the Great Sun Sect's outer sect, he was the weakest one. Today, Wang Qiong had already aged. Although he still had the cultivation of a holy emperor, the strength he displayed could be at the early stages of a holy emperor, or even a fake one. Zhang Ming and Ling Fei could easily achieve Tianyang's result. Coupled with their strong pride in the Great Sun Sect, they naturally thought that Tianyang was far weaker than them. In the end, he was actually so strong. If that's the case, Zhang Ming gritted his teeth as if he was going to admit defeat. In the next moment, the power of the origin of fire erupted. Roar of dragon flame. The monstrous sea of fire transformed into countless fire dragons that charged towards Tianyang. It was as if it wanted to evaporate all the water vapor in this world. The moment the sea of fire appeared, the surrounding air became much drier. Even the incomparably firm space of the god realm had started to distort, piercing hundreds. At this moment, Ling Fei's figure flashed and disappeared from his original spot. A long saber suddenly appeared in his hand. It gathered the power of the origin of space and slashed towards Tianyang. Wherever the blade passed, the space would flip and tear. It actually combined perfectly with the roar of the dragon flame. It formed an extremely terrifying attack that was even enough to kill a holy emperor. Your control of this origin is not bad. Seeing this, Tianyang's eyes revealed a look of praise. Both were origin of fire, but Zhang Ming's was much stronger than Holy Emperor Lai Yan's. Just based on the degree of control and condensation, Tianyang dared to conclude that Holy Emperor Lai Yan would definitely not be Zhang Ming's opponent if they were of the same cultivation level. Even if Holy Emperor Lai Yan had cultivated for millions of years, it would still be the same. The strongest was still this combination: origin of space and origin of fire. These two things that seemed to be completely unrelated were combined perfectly at this moment. The power that erupted was far stronger than 1 + 1 = 2. If it was before, I might have really let you guys succeed. Tianyang smiled slightly. The combined attack of these two people was so strong that even if Holy Emperor Qing Mu and Holy Emperor Lai Yan were to join forces, they would still be dead. Before stepping into the God realm, Tianyang had to activate the sky-devouring secret skill when facing such an attack. But now spacetime instant. On the great void sword embryo, a strange radiance shone. The entire spacetime, including the two terrifying combined attack. Chapter 1501. Spacetime instant. Spacetime was frozen at this moment. Tianyang had a calm smile on his lips as he looked at the two people in disbelief in the frozen spacetime. Spacetime origin. Although spacetime was frozen, the two people's thoughts did not stop. Instead, they looked at Tianyang in shock. This was spacetime origin. No matter what, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei found it hard to imagine that there was someone who could control such a powerful origin power. The spacetime origin and the space origin only lacked the time origin. However, space origin was easy to form, but time origin was difficult. When Tianyang broke through to the Saint Realm and condensed chaos origin, countless great path insights were born in his mind, and he captured the spacetime origin that belonged to spacetime origin and created spacetime instant. In the Meru domain of the Western Buddha Pure Land, he received the inheritance of Saint Monk Shumi and condensed spacetime origin. Even the heavenly sun could forget about touching upon the mysteries of time. The spacetime instant was not long, only less than 2 seconds. Yang Qingluan did not even have time to react to what had happened and had already disappeared. Boom! Boom! 2 loud sounds rang out. The attacks that Zhang Ming and Ling Fei had released previously with perfect coordination bombarded the walls of the Commandery Princess's residence. This formation was only at the peak of the heaven-grade Great Saint level. In the face of the full blow of these two Saint Emperors, it naturally exploded instantly. The entire Commandery Princess's residence, along with the 1,000 feet of space outside the Commandery Princess's residence, was blasted into pieces. However, only Tianyang, who was supposed to be the only target of the two attacks, stood by the side and scathed with a smile on his face. As for Zhang Ming and Ling Fei, they had no intention of continuing to attack. Their backs were drenched in cold sweat. They stood where they were and did not even dare to breathe loudly. In the previous 2 seconds of spacetime instant, Tianyang had hundreds of ways to kill them. It was just that Tianyang did not do it. Now, do you still want to fight? Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei quickly shook their heads and trembled. Then, let's talk about compensation? Also, why would an inner court disciple of the Great Sun sect appear in this small kingdom of the Cloudfire territory, the Darkfire dynasty? The corners of Tianyang's mouth curled up, revealing a brilliant smile. However, this smile was terrifying in the eyes of Zhang Ming and Ling Fei. We are here because the Cloud Fire Dao contest is about to begin. The Great Sun Sect has sent us to various places in the Cloud Fire territory to find cultivators to participate in the Cloud Fire Dao contest. Under the coercion of Tianyang's powerful strength, no matter how unwilling Zhang Ming and Ling Fei were, they could only obediently submit. Because the two of us are from the Dark Fire Dynasty, we are in charge of searching for talents in the Dark Fire Dynasty. Moreover, we heard that there is a former 15th Elder of the Outer Sanctum in Qingyuan City who can enter the top 500 of the Hidden Dragon ranking in the Cloud Fire territory. That is why we came here. Our goal is to complete the mission. Zhang Ming said honestly. However, his eyes still flashed with hatred from time to time. After all, he was an inner court disciple of the Cloud Fire territory's overlord, the Great Sun Sect, who was high and mighty and worshipped wherever he went. Now, he had become a prisoner with his true essence sealed by Tianyang. In the face of Tianyang's inquiry, he could only answer honestly. This was what made Zhang Ming and Ling Fei the most angry. Cloud Fire Dao contest? Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. There is also the Cloud Fire territory's Hidden Dragon ranking? What is that? Hearing this, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei were stunned. They both revealed expressions of disbelief. This Yang Tian was so powerful that he could easily suppress two inner court disciples of the Great Sun Sect. He actually did not know about the Cloud Fire Dao contest and the Cloud Fire territory's Hidden Dragon ranking? At this time, Yang Qingluan, who had just recovered after being out of danger, explained. Yang Tian, the Cloud Fire territory's Hidden Dragon ranking, is actually a genius ranking in the Cloud Fire territory. Almost every territory in the Divine Realm has a Hidden Dragon ranking. The Hidden Dragon ranking only includes cultivators under 200 years old. If you are over 200 years old, you will be automatically kicked out of the Hidden Dragon ranking. Previously, Wang Lingen of the Wang family was a strong contender for the top 500 of the Hidden Dragon ranking. In the Xuanhua dynasty, there has not been a person on the Hidden Dragon ranking for decades. The lowest ranking on the Hidden Dragon ranking is only 500. As for what the Cloud Fire Dao contest is, I don't know. Yang Qingluan said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly. It seemed that it was similar to the genius ranking in the Xiantian Great World and the Tianshao Great World. However, the Cloud Fire territory's Hidden Dragon ranking was more valuable. Wang Lingen reached the realm of Heavenly Great Saint at the age of a few decades. In the Xiantian Great World, he was still a top genius. Only Bodhi Buddha, the young master of the Void Mountain, and a few others could compete with him. In the Cloud Fire territory's Hidden Dragon ranking, he was only at the bottom. It was even doubtful whether he could enter. Although the Cloud Fire territory was huge, it was only the size of the Xiantian Great World's Eastern Divine Land, Central Divine Land, Western Buddhist Pure Land, Southern Devil Land, and the four great spiritual states combined. However, there were almost 500 times more geniuses in the Xiantian Great World. This showed that the God world was extraordinary. It's not just the Hidden Dragon ranking. The Hidden Dragon ranking is only a ranking for martial arts geniuses under 200 years old. Above the Hidden Dragon ranking is the True Dragon ranking. However, the True Dragon ranking is not limited to the Cloud Fire territory. It covers the existence of hundreds of territories. Zhang Ming sneered. However, for people like you, the Hidden Dragon ranking is a terrifying existence that you can't climb even if you cultivate for 200 years. As for the True Dragon ranking, don't even think about it. Even in the Great Sun Sect, only the inner sect eldest senior brother can enter the True Dragon ranking. However, people like eldest senior brother disdain trials like the Cloud Fire Dao contest. So, what is the Cloud Fire Dao contest? Tianyang said faintly and released a powerful aura. There was also a bit of space-time origin energy in front of Zhang Ming. Seeing this, Zhang Ming immediately shut his mouth. The space-time origin energy had almost killed him previously. Now that Tianyang took it out, Zhang Ming's psychological trauma was triggered. The Cloud Fire Dao contest is a huge trial jointly organized by the Great Sun sect and other sects in the Cloud Fire territory. This trial ground was found by the ancestors of the Great Sun sect a long time ago. It was a relic left behind by a powerful deity. Therefore, in the Cloud Fire territory, countless young geniuses want to enter and obtain the opportunity to become a demigod. It's not impossible for them to reach the divine state and become a giant in the Cloud Fire territory. Zhang Ming laughed proudly. The moment he mentioned the Cloud Fire Dao contest, his confidence exploded. He even forgot that his life was in Tianyang's hands. Hearing this, Tianyang pondered for a moment. Where is the relic of the deity? It's in the vast sky sacred mountain in the east of the Cloud Fire territory. However, if you try to sneak in, you can give up. The Great Sun sect won't let people enter so easily, Zhang Ming said disdainfully. Hearing this, Tianyang rubbed his chin. At this moment, a clear, tender, and anxious voice suddenly rang in Tianyang's mind. Chapter 1502. Ask quickly, where is Hao Shao Divine Mountain? The vast expanse Holy Spirit's voice rang out. Tianyang was shocked when he heard it, then he was overjoyed. Vast expanse Holy Spirit, you're awake? Ever since the Heavens Expanse Saint Spirit had used the power of the Heavens Expanse Saint Palace to help Tianyang block the Undying Prince's divine power storm in the passageway to the divine realm, the Heavens Expanse Saint Spirit had fallen into a deep slumber due to the overdraft of his divine power. Even after Tianyang had recovered and easily suppressed Zhang Ming and Ling Fei from the Great Sun sect, the vast expanse Holy Spirit had not woken up. Now that he had suddenly woken up, Tianyang was naturally overjoyed. I just woke up. The purity of the heaven and earth spiritual energy you absorbed earlier was not bad, so I woke up a little faster. The vast expanse Holy Spirit had no time to explain and quickly repeated himself. Ask me where Hao Shao Divine Mountain is. Hearing how anxious the vast expanse Holy Spirit was, Tianyang's face quickly turned serious. If the vast expanse Holy Spirit was so anxious, it was obvious that Hao Shao Divine Mountain was not ordinary. Where is Hao Shao Divine Mountain? Tianyang did not hesitate and immediately activated the spacetime origin energy to seal the space around Zhang Ming. Zhang Ming was stunned when he saw that. He had no idea what was going on. Yang Tian had suddenly used so much spacetime origin energy to seal him. Was he going to kill him? However, other than Zhang Ming, Tianyang still had Ling Fei to ask. Tianyang did not even need to ask to kill him. Hao Shao Divine Mountain is in the east of the Cloud Fire territory. It's under the direct jurisdiction of the Great Sun sect. Map, Tianyang said. Hearing that, Zhang Ming's face turned ugly. He had never been treated like this before. However, the origin energy of time and space was mixed with wisps of sharp origin energy of Sword Dao. Although Zhang Ming did not know that this was the origin under the cover of the origin of time and space, there was no doubt that it could kill him. Very quickly, Zhang Ming took out a map. The vast expanse Holy Spirit did not even need Tianyang to take it. He scanned it directly, and his tone became more anxious. This is the place I told you about before, the place where the Heavens Expanse Emperor's treasure is, the Dusty Land. Upon hearing this, Tianyang's pupils suddenly shrank. Before he stepped into the God realm, the vast expanse Holy Spirit had helped him locate the location so that he could directly land in that place. However, due to the obstruction of the Undying Prince's divine power, he had failed. However, the landing point should not be far away. However, Tianyang did not expect that it would be delivered to him in such a way. Since you are here to invite Wang Lingen to participate in the Cloud Fire Dao Forum, you must have the qualifications to participate in the Cloud Fire Dao Forum. Tianyang said with a smile. Hearing this, Zhang Ming's expression changed greatly. Could it be that you hand it over and I'll spare your life? In the end, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei were released by Tianyang. It wasn't that Tianyang was afraid of the Great Sun sect and didn't dare to kill them. However, Tianyang had used a very kind method to obtain the qualifications to participate in the Cloud Fire Dao Forum from Zhang Ming. He still needed Zhang Ming to go back and activate it. However, Tianyang was not afraid that Zhang Ming would go back on his word. Tianyang had left a trace of the true flames of destruction in their bodies. Even across the entire Cloud Fire territory, Tianyang could sense what the two of them were doing. He could take their lives with just a thought. As for Tianyang, he stayed in Qingyuan City to communicate with the vast expanse Holy Spirit. I see. The Heavens Expanse Emperor's treasure was obtained by someone from the God realm in such a way. The vast expanse Holy Spirit revealed the body of an 11 or 12-year-old boy and said. However, at this point, the Heavens Expanse Saint Spirit's lips curled up into a smile. Unless the person who obtains it has the strength of the Heavens Expanse Emperor, the Heavens Expanse Shrine is required to open it. In other words, only you can obtain the real treasure left behind by the Heavens Expanse Emperor Lord. The vast expanse Holy Spirit said with a smile. Hearing that, Tianyang's eyes lit up. The treasure that the Great Sun sect discovered but did not have the ability to obtain, and countless sects in the Cloud Fire territory coveted but could not get their hands on, could be easily obtained by him? This seemed to be a good idea. As for the surrounding treasures, after so many years, the seal has loosened and leaked a trace of the Heavens Expanse Emperor Lord's aura. The Heavens Expanse Emperor Lord is not an ordinary god. It is not strange that a trace of his aura can create a treasure land. The vast expanse Holy Spirit said proudly. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded. That was true. From the vast expanse Holy Spirit, one could vaguely infer the Heavens Expanse Emperor Lord's powerful strength. Even the sword god Ling Tian that Tianyang sensed in the Ling Tian ancient sword's memory and the sky tyrant dragon god that he had seen face to face were not as powerful as the Heavens Expanse Emperor Lord. As for the Emperor Xianyuan, Tianyang thought that Xianyuan Chongqing was exaggerating. Speaking of which, the path to God can only allow one person to pass through. Previously, I used the Firmament Emperor Sword's power to forcefully bring Yuhan here and asked you to hide Luoluo. Is Luoluo in the vast expanse temple now? Tianyang asked. Among the people around him, Tianyang missed Ling Yuhan and Bai Luoluo the most. Bai Luoluo is fine. Although the vast expanse temple is only a fragment of the vast expanse temple, it still has the ability to bring people. The vast expanse Holy Spirit said, however, ever since Bai Luoluo entered the God world, she has been in a deep sleep. Previously, she only needed to be called to wake up. This time, she can't wake up no matter what. Hearing that, Tianyang frowned. However, when he thought of Bai Luoluo's identity as the fire god's sole essence, he could only sigh. As long as it was related to the God state, he could not do anything. If that's the case, I'll go back first. The vast expanse Holy Spirit said. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded slightly. The vast expanse Holy Spirit then returned to the Vientiane Sky Market. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. Then, Yang Qingluan walked in. Yang Tian. The news of you killing the three most important people in the Wang family's main bloodline, almost wiping out the Wang family, and forcing the Great Sun sect's messenger to retreat has spread throughout Qingyuan City. Even the people from the imperial family know about it. So, Yang Qingluan said fearfully. Hearing that, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Is someone here to look for me again? Bang! That's right, it's me. Before Yang Qingluan could reply, the door that had just closed was kicked open by someone. A young man with a handsome face and a flamboyant expression walked in with large strides. He glanced at Tianyang with disdain and said disdainfully, I'm the young master of the Qi family of the Flame Capital Dynasty. Yang Tian, come with me. The monarch of the Xuanhua dynasty wants to see you. The monarch wants to see me? Chapter 1503. Xuanhua dynasty, Yan capital, Qi family. Tianyang caught the information exposed by the young man in an instant, but his expression did not change. Success, another idiot. It was most likely that the young man's achievements were too amazing, so he came in person and waited for him to verify it. Qi Xiaofeng. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan's expression changed drastically. She shouted angrily, "Didn't you say you would show some respect to Yang Tian?" If this Yang Tian was really an expert who could easily kill the three most important people of the main branch of the Wang family and even force the messenger of the Great Sun sect to retreat, I, Qi Xiaofeng, would naturally respect him. It wouldn't matter even if I treated him as an ancestor. The young man named Qi Xiaofeng took out a fan out of nowhere and waved it pretentiously. A wisp of light flashed across his eyes. But now it seems that the so-called Yang Tian, who easily killed the main branch of the Wang family and forced the two messengers of the Great Sun sect to retreat, is just a liar. Qi Xiaofeng shook his head and sighed. Qingluan, you are still too naive to believe the boasting of this kind of person. In the prosperous Yan capital imperial city, this kind of low-level swindler would have already been killed on the side of the road. Hearing this, Yang Qingluan was speechless. Could it be that everyone in Qingyuan City is blind or an accomplice of a liar? You can't say it like that. I've never been to the Wang clan before, so I don't know what they look like. However, seeing is believing. This person doesn't have any aura at all, yet he pretends to be profound. That's why you all fell for his trick. Now that I've exposed his identity as a liar, what do you think his reaction will be? Qi Xiaofeng waved his fan gently and said. And Tianyang, there was no reaction at all. Today, he did not guess correctly. Or rather, he did not guess completely. This person's brain circuit was so strange that it did not seem like an ordinary idiot. Even now, you're still putting on an act? Seeing that Tianyang did not move, Qi Xiaofeng's face suddenly darkened. Do you know who the young man standing in front of you who exposed your identity as a liar is? Qi Xiaofeng shouted. A moment later, he unleashed the true vitality of a heavenly great sage. I'm Qi Xiaofeng, the young master of the Qi clan in the Yan capital of the Xuanhua dynasty. I'm only 92 years old, but I'm already a heavenly great saint. In just a few years, he will be able to inherit the Qi family. Now, he is ranked 497th in the top 500 on the Hidden Dragon list in the Cloud Fire territory. Qi Xiaofeng said coldly, Now you know how powerful I am, right? You should also know what kind of peerless genius is on the Hidden Dragon list in Cloud Flame territory. I advise you to surrender quickly. Otherwise, if I attack, the consequences will be unimaginable. Qi Xiaofeng's face gradually darkened as Tianyang ignored him. After a moment of silence, he made his move without any warning. You're just an ant fishing for fame. How dare you ignore me? I want to see what you're made of. Qi Xiaofeng shouted angrily. A terrifying heavenly great sage's true vitality was unleashed. It turned into a long saber, releasing an unparalleled sharpness, and slashed down on Tianyang's head. It was not the origin, but it showed signs of being close to the origin. He was able to be so arrogant because he had the ability. It was just that he got the wrong person. Not bad. Tianyang nodded slightly and raised his hand. Seeing this, Qi Xiaofeng's face suddenly showed an arrogant smile. However, before he could ridicule Qi Xiaofeng, bang! Shards of light flew everywhere. The saber light he had condensed shattered with a loud bang. What? Qi Xiaofeng's face changed drastically. He looked at his shattered saber light in disbelief and growled, How is this possible? In the next moment, he channeled his true vitality and condensed another long saber. Holding it in his hand, he slashed at Tianyang. The space rippled, and a neat crack was torn open. Perilous slash. Tianyang's movements did not change at all. He reached out his hand, grabbed the blade, and then squeezed it hard. Qi Xiaofeng's powerful long saber, which he had used all his strength to launch, was shattered into pieces just like the previous flying sabers. On the other hand, Tianyang's palm had only sustained a wound that was less than half a centimeter deep after enduring such a powerful attack. As the long saber was shattered, it healed quickly. When Qi Xiaofeng came to his senses, it had completely recovered. How is this possible? Seeing this, Qi Xiaofeng was completely terrified. No matter how strong Qi Xiaofeng was, it should not be like this. It was fine that Qi Xiaofeng blocked his attack so easily. However, Qi Xiaofeng crushed his saber without using any true vitality? That was a saber made of true vitality, not a trash precious weapon used to fool kids on the roadside. Moreover, his perilous slash released the strongest power and caused the most damage, but it was just a scratch. There was a crack in it? How could this be a liar fishing for fame and reputation? Even if Qi Xiaofeng was a half-saint emperor, a saint emperor, or someone in the top 100 of the hidden dragon list in Cloudfire territory, he would believe it. Only heaven-grade great saints under 200 years old were qualified to enter the hidden dragon list. However, saint emperors who were 200 years old were extremely rare. Previously, Tianyang had extorted 2 Yunhua Dao querying qualifications before releasing Zhang Ming and Ling Fei. Although they were only slightly stronger than saint emperors who had just entered the saint emperor realm, they were still more than 500 years old. Saint emperors were all in the top 100 or even the top 80. Qi Xiaofeng was ranked 497th on the hidden dragon list, someone who could be kicked out of the list at any time. How could he have offended someone who might be in the top 100 of the list? Thinking of this, Qi Xiaofeng trembled and almost lost control of his bladder. You just said that the emperor came to see me? Is the emperor of the divine realm so free that he knows about this immediately? Tianyang raised his eyebrows. He didn't care about Qi Xiaofeng's flustered and terrified expression. Qi Xiaofeng's heart skipped a beat, as if he had seen a ghost. How did Yang Tian know? However, since Tianyang had already pointed it out, Qi Xiaofeng had no choice but to tell the truth. Actually, His Majesty didn't come to see you. His Majesty has been cultivating in recent years. Although he's not in seclusion, ordinary things can't reach His Majesty's ears. Qi Xiaofeng said, but he still sighed in his heart. Killing the main branch of the Wang family and forcing the messenger of the Great Sun sect to retreat, these two things were not trivial at all. I'm here on the orders of the second prince to invite Your Excellency, Fang Jingji said. Qi Xiaofeng's voice was obviously weak. His previous performance was not worthy of the word invite. I see. Tianyang nodded slightly. Then, Chapter 1504. Let him see me, Tianyang said indifferently. Qi Xiaofeng's face was filled with disbelief when he heard that. Let the second prince see him? What are you talking about? Qi Xiaofeng exclaimed, as if he had heard the most unbelievable news in the world. You want the second prince to come from the imperial city to see you? Qi Xiaofeng exclaimed. Tianyang raised his eyebrows. You're asking for help, but you don't even have the sincerity to meet him? If that's the case, please leave, Tianyang said calmly. The so-called second prince of the Xuanhua dynasty did not attract his attention at all. In fact, he did not even bother to pay attention to him. A member of the imperial family who was directly involved in the battle for the throne wanted to recruit experts. It was obvious what his intention was. Heavenly Sun couldn't be bothered to participate in this kind of scheming for an illusory position. Heavenly Sun couldn't be bothered to participate. Tianyang had caused a lot of trouble in the Heaven continent because of Princess Ling Ling. If not for Yang Qingluan, Tianyang would have kicked him out. The second prince is the one with the most advantage in this competition for the throne. Are you sure you don't want to consider it? Qi Xiaofeng's expression changed slightly when he heard that. Although the first prince is the eldest son of the imperial family, he's already 300 to 400 years old, and he's only a half-saint emperor. Although the second prince is only a little over 100 years old, he's already in the top 400 of the hidden dragon roll. He's much stronger than the first prince in all aspects. If you join, the second prince will definitely get the throne. By then you'll also, the throne? I don't want it even if you give it to me. Qi Xiaofeng was stunned when he heard that. Then, his expression changed. That was true. Although the second prince was much stronger than him and the first prince, he was only in the top 300 of the hidden dragon roll. Although he was strong enough in the entire Cloudfire territory, he was not outstanding. Although he did not know the identity of the person in front of him, he definitely had the strength to fight for the top 100 of the hidden dragon roll. The second prince wanted to recruit Tianyang. It was like an ant asking a dragon to help fight for an ant's nest. So, Yang Qinghuan, see him out, Tianyang said calmly. Hearing this, Yang Qinghuan nodded and walked Qi Xiaofeng out. Tianyang's meaning was clear. The so-called Xuanhua dynasty was not in Tianyang's eyes at all. Tianyang's ambition does not lie here. In fact, his ambition was not even in the Cloudfire territory. Naturally, such a mighty eagle would not be interested in a small piece of the Xuanhua dynasty. After Qi Xiaofeng was sent away by Yang Qinghuan looked at Tianyang, not daring to look him in the eye. Since, even the Enigma Fire dynasty is not worthy of your attention, then where are you going? Yang Qinghuan had a feeling that Qingyuan City was just a small posthouse in Tianyang. He would not stay in the relay station for too long. Let's talk about it after Yun Hua's path-seeking. Tianyang muttered to himself. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up. Interesting. South of the Cloudfire territory. Different from ordinary big forces, as the strongest overlord of the Cloudfire territory, the Great Sun sect was not located in the center of the Cloudfire territory. Instead, it was located in the extreme south of the Cloudfire territory. The Great Sun sect was divided into two sects, the inner and outer. The outer sect had 7 outer sects, distributed in the 7 corners of the Cloudfire territory, except for the south. The inner sect was a world of its own, located in the southern part of the Cloudfire territory. In the small world of the inner sect of the Great Sun sect, countless floating mountains occupied most of the space. A huge sun hung high in the sky of the small world. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth here was much stronger than that of Qingyuan City and the cultivation treasures that Tianyang used to recover his true yuan. It was said that the huge sun was a star's origin power that was snatched away by the sect master of the Great Sun sect, who could be considered an extremely strong expert in the godly realm. After being refined by the Great Sun sect's vast sun technique, it hung above the small world of the Great Sun sect. It burned for thousands of years and still did not extinguish, in one of the countless floating mountains. So, you really did as Yang Tian said? You obediently gave away the 2 spots for the Cloudfire Path Forum that you had? A voice filled with endless anger rang out in the mountain. I'm sorry, Senior Brother Lin, it's mainly because Yang Tian is too strong. He actually controls the spacetime origin power. Even Ling Fei's spacetime origin power was firmly suppressed by that person. He even used a strange flame to leave a flame seed in our bodies. If we didn't do as he said, we would die. Zhang Ming trembled. Before leaving, they had tried to use the Great Sun sect's cultivation method to forcibly refine the true flames of destruction that Tianyang had left in their bodies. As a result, the heavenly sun immediately sensed what they were doing and directly used the true flames of destruction to burn their innard. If they weren't saint emperors, they would have died along the way. Tianyang never showed mercy to his enemies. Is that so? Hearing this, the voice hesitated for a moment, then snorted coldly. Then, if that's the case, why didn't you come back immediately and look for me? With the strength of Lin Fenghua, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for me to deal with a backup plan left behind by a guy who came out of nowhere? In the next moment, sharp metal blades appeared directly in Zhang Ming's flesh. At this moment, Zhang Ming's face had also become extremely distorted. However, he did not dare to say a word. Not every disciple of the Great Sun sect could have a floating mountain in the inner sect. At the very least, they had comprehended a trace of the laws and were close to being demigod. This senior brother Lin Fenghua was one of the best. It's a pity that you are still too stupid. Otherwise, if you had given those 2 spots to me, you would have at least gotten a half-saint weapon. Lin Fenghua's voice rang out. Hearing this, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei's faces twitched. Half-saint weapon? If you want to snatch it, just say so. What's the use of giving 2 half-saint emperors a half-saint weapon? However, facing Lin Fenghua, they did not dare to express the hatred in their hearts. They could only vent all their anger on Tianyang. However, as 2 dogs, the 2 of you have done a pretty good job earlier. Now, show me the strange flame in your body. Lin Fenghua's voice rang out. In the next moment, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei felt a strong primordial spirit power sweep across their bodies. There really is. However, why do I feel like it's moving? Lin Fenghua snorted coldly. He released a power close to that of a demigod in an attempt to extinguish the flame. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. Streaks of true destructive flames instantly surged out of Zhang Ming and Ling Fei's bodies, and spewed out of their bodies through their pores. In an instant, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei were turned into flaming men. What? Seeing this, Lin Fenghua's expression changed drastically. He tried to suppress it, but it was useless. Then, the 2 of them turned into ashes. What was strange was that when the ashes fell down, they coincidentally formed a few words. Waiting for you. Then, a few more flames burned a few marks on the ground. Chapter 1505. The words ashes fall and flames burn. It was no different from giving Lin Fenghua a few hard slaps on his face. In an instant, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the entire floating mountain went berserk. Countless spiritual beasts howled at this moment, obviously greatly frightened. However, Lin Fenghua did not roar out in anger. Instead, he quickly recovered. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the floating mountain also gradually calmed down. I remember that the Xuanhua dynasty is in the east of the Cloudfire territory. Not only is this place hundreds of millions of kilometers away, but it is also separated by the barrier of the Great Sun sect's inner sect small world and my restrictive spells. I was also able to activate my trump card and kill Zhang Ming and Ling Fei. After that, he was able to control the ashes and flames so precisely. This person's strength is not to be underestimated. Lin Fenghua's expression was solemn. He stretched out his hand and a strong wind blew over. It blew away all the ashes. However, the traces left by the 2 true flames of destruction could not be blown away. Yang Tian, is it? Sure. Cloudfire path seeking, wait. Interesting. I didn't expect their leader to be a demigod. Tianyang's lips curled up, but his expression was solemn. If he was a demigod and was in the realm of a holy emperor, Tianyang was confident in dealing with him. If he was a demigod, Tianyang would have no choice but to use the sky-devouring secret skill. Although there were no side effects. So, there are only 3 days until the Cloudfire path seeking. Looks like I can make it just in time. Tianyang flipped his wrist, and the Cloudfire path seeking token he got from Zhang Ming appeared in his hand. The badge was now activated, emitting a mystical aura. On it, a ball of flames burned on the clouds as if it was really burning. It was very realistic. However, what Tianyang cared about was not the symbol of the Cloudfire territory, but the extremely familiar power that had just condensed in the depths of the token. Boundless power. It was impossible for Tianyang not to recognize him, since he had been in contact with Wu Zun until now. However, compared to Tianyang's vast expanse origin source and the vast expanse Saint Spirit's vast expanse energy, it was much purer and stronger. It would appear that the cloud fire path is the location of the heavens expanse monarch's legacy treasure. At this moment, the vast expanse Holy Spirit's voice rang out. Although it sounded calm, it could not hide the excitement in its heart. If that's the case, let's go. 3 days is enough. That's great. The Great Sun Sect isn't the only one participating in the Cloudfire Dao competition. Everyone has a token, so I don't have to worry about the demigod or immortal realm experts from the Great Sun Sect. Although Tianyang wasn't afraid of demigods now, he still had to cower when facing an immortal state existence. Yuhan, let's go, Tianyang called out. Ling Yuhan, who was in a daze, immediately responded, coming. Then, he opened the door to the Vientiane Sky ruins with ease and walked in. Ling Yuhan was only an earthly great saint. Naturally, she couldn't keep up with Tianyang's speed of cultivating the vast expanse 9 changes to the peak of the 8th change. It was naturally best for her to stay in the Vientiane Sky ruins. Tianyang didn't hesitate and immediately soared into the sky. He used the vast expanse 9 changes with the help of the spacetime origin. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the sky. On the way, Tianyang was also thinking. He had already entered the divine world. Although he was still in contact with the top experts in the Xiantian Great World, his strength was enough to go unhindered. However, as time passed, many of his treasures became useless, or rather, they became less useful. For example, the true flames of destruction. Previously, Tianyang had directly released the true flames of destruction hidden in Zhang Ming and Ling Fei's bodies to kill them the moment Lin Fenghua attacked. Firstly, it was because the Cloud Fire Path Seeking token had been activated and the two of them were of no use. Secondly, if Lin Fenghua attacked, Tianyang couldn't guarantee that the true flames of destruction wouldn't survive from hundreds of millions of miles away. After all, although the true flames of destruction had devoured many flames, it was only at the peak of the 8th Order Sacred Flame. Previously, when I killed Saint Emperor Lai Yan, his spiritual fire was at the peak of the 8th Order Sacred Flame. If I devoured Saint Emperor Lai Yan's spiritual fire, the true flames of destruction would probably reach the 9th Order Sacred Emperor level. Tianyang muttered to himself. In the last few days in the Xiantian Great World, Tianyang had dealt with many enemies and obtained many treasures. Among them, Saint Emperor Lai Yan, who was one of the 3 giants of the Void Mountain when he was alive, was the most important. Saint Emperor Lai Yan was a sacred emperor who used the origin of flames to prove his Tao. He also occupied the resources of the entire Xiantian Great World. The spiritual fire that he controlled was at the peak of the 8th Order Sacred Flame. In terms of destructive power, it was even stronger than Tianyang's true flames of destruction. However, after it fell into Tianyang's hands, Tianyang had forgotten about it for a while. He only recalled it now when the true flames of destruction almost couldn't hold on any longer. This trip to the vast heavens' sacred mountain not only has to obtain the treasure left behind by the heavens' expanse Emperor Lord, but also try my best to find a spiritual fire to devour. Tianyang muttered to himself, then transmitted his voice to the heavens' expanse Saint Spirit. Heavens' expanse Saint Spirit, do you know what the heavens' expanse Emperor Lord's treasure is? Tianyang asked. It would be best if it was a spiritual fire or a body-refining technique. His 9-tempered dragon body had already been cultivated to perfection, and his immortal divine body had no room for improvement before he found a new technique. Only the diamond body-refining saint technique could support Tianyang's physical strength, and he was still as strong as Supreme Saint Aoju, almost as strong as a sacred emperor. I don't know. However, to Tianyang's disappointment, the heavens' expanse Saint Spirit didn't know either. This part of memory was left behind by another heavens' expanse Saint Palace, but it's incomplete. I don't know if it's because she was originally incomplete or because I merged with it. However, it's definitely not weak. Moreover, beside the Emperor Lord's treasure, thousands of opportunities will be born. Who knows, there might be the spiritual fire and body refining technique that you want. The heavens expanse, Saint Spirit said. Hearing that, Tianyang could only nod. He activated the heavens expanse 9 transformations, and while cultivating the expanse origin, he flew towards the vast heavens sacred mountain with extreme speed. Great Sun Sect. Led by Lin Fenghua, the owner of the 5th floating mountain in the Great Sun Sect, dozens of people were transported to the vast heavens sacred mountain through the teleportation formation in the Great Sun Sect. In the space tunnel, Lin Fenghua's expression didn't change, but a cold look flashed in the depths of his eyes. He didn't erase the 2 words that were left in his mansion on the floating mountain. I wonder how strong that Yang Tian is. Lin Fenghua muttered to himself. It was calm, but filled with killing intent. He, Lin Fenghua, was ranked 21st on the Cloud Fire Territory's Hidden Dragon list. Huangmong Sect, Spirit Sword Pavilion, Jiang Clan. Countless forces and countless geniuses moved, heading towards the Emperor Lord's sacred mountain in the Cloud Fire Territory. Just for Chapter 1506. Vast Sky Sacred Mountain. Tianyang stood at the foot of Vast Sky Sacred Mountain, looking up at the giant mountain that seemed to pierce the sky. He had seen many towering mountains, some of which were even tens of thousands of miles high. Even a heavenly ascension realm elite would find it difficult to climb them. However, this vast sky sacred mountain was nothing compared to the ones Tianyang had seen, whether it was Mount Meru in the Sumer domain or the Void Mountain in the Xiantian Great World. Tianyang's primordial spirit power was enough to sense everything within a 10,000-mile radius. However, at the foot of Vast Sky Sacred Mountain, not only was the range of his primordial spirit limited, but his primordial spirit power could also only reach tens of thousands of miles in a straight line. He could not even see the other side of Vast Sky Sacred Mountain. In fact, based on the angle, he could not even see half of it. If this giant mountain appeared in the Xiantian Great World or the Tianshao Great World, it would probably be a smaller continent. Tianyang was shocked. At this moment, he realized that his experience in the Xiantian Great World and the Tianshao Great World might be useful in the divine realm, but it was not completely accurate. Vast Sky Sacred Mountain could not be created in the Xiantian Great World even if all the Saint Emperors worked together. Vast Sky Sacred Mountain did not exist here originally. However, when the Vast Sky Emperor's treasure fell here, the Emperor's power changed heaven and earth, forming this giant mountain. Perhaps the Great Sun Sect of the Cloudfire Territory or some other sect has not even explored half of it after so many years. The Vast Sky Sacred Spirit laughed softly. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression changed. In other words, at least half of it was a treasure land that no one had explored? By the way, this Vast Sky Sacred Mountain, the entire mountain, is better than the place you found to recover your cultivation base. The Vast Sky Sacred Spirit laughed softly. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes lit up, and he clenched his fists excitedly. If that was the case, then he would have to go through a lot. Someone's here. At this moment, Tianyang raised his eyebrows, sensing waves of space power being released in the distance. It was the space origin. It was much stronger than Ling Fei's space origin. The newcomer's speed was extremely fast. Although he had only just arrived, he arrived at the foot of Vast Sky Sacred Mountain in less than 10 seconds. I didn't expect that the Jiang clan wasn't the fastest. The leader of the group looked at Tianyang, who was already waiting there, and a trace of surprise appeared on his face. He silently scanned Tianyang with the power of his soul. Heaven Great Sage Peak. Sensing this level of weak Jin Yuan, the leader lost interest and casually found a place to set up camp. One could not directly enter the Vast Sky Sacred Mountain just because they had the Cloud Fire Path seeking token. Or rather, their Cloudfire Dao seeking tokens could only be used according to the weakening cycle of the vast firmament divine mountain seal. There was still some time before the opening of the vast sky sacred mountain. The Jiang clan. Upon hearing that, Tianyang also glanced at these people. Without exception, all of them were Heaven Great Sage P. The strongest leader's strength had probably touched the barrier of the demigod realm. He was only one step away from that realm. As for their age, other than the strongest who was close to the demigod realm, which could not be seen, the rest were all below 500 years old. He also saw a few who were only over 100 years old but had stepped into the Holy Emperor realm. It seems that the Great Sun sect does not dominate the Cloudfire territory alone. Tianyang analyzed for a while, then smiled and looked away. Tianyang did not care about the opinion of the Jiang clan. Other than this visit to Vast Sky Sacred Mountain and the Cloud Fire Path seeking token, he most likely would not have the opportunity to interact with the forces of the Cloudfire territory. On the contrary, through this observation, he learned a part of the Jiang clan's strength. Although it might not be very detailed, if they met on Vast Sky Sacred Mountain, Tianyang would be more confident. "What force are you from?" At this moment, a young girl suddenly ran out from the Jiang clan and looked at Tianyang curiously. "I recognize the geniuses of the major forces in the Cloudfire territory and the top 500 of the Hidden Dragon ranking. Why haven't I seen you before? Did you come from another territory to participate in the Cloudfire Path seeking token?" The young girl approached Tianyang and asked curiously with her eyes wide open. Hearing this, Tianyang suddenly felt a headache. This kind of uninvited person was the most troublesome. Strange. I remember the Hidden Dragon ranking of the neighboring territory. You are only a few decades old and already have such great strength. You should be in the Hidden Dragon ranking. The Heaven-Seeking Pavilion's intelligence network is very strong, the young girl said. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. Heaven-Seeking Pavilion? When he asked Zhang Ming and Ling Fei about the Hidden Dragon ranking, they did not mention the Heaven-Seeking Pavilion. It seemed that Zhang Ming and Ling Fei still had some reservations about him, the person who had brushed them off. However, they didn't expect to lose their lives not long after they escaped from Heavenly Sun City. Due to the fact that he had just seen the young girl from the Jiang clan, Tianyang kept a cautious attitude and did not immediately ask. Instead, the young girl kept chattering nonstop. "I say, are you mute? Why didn't you reply to me after I asked you so many questions? Speaking of which, the energy in your body is very strange. I have never seen such a strange origin energy since I was young. Could it be that you are not practicing orthodox techniques?" "That's not right. It's not that I haven't seen demonic techniques, but I have never seen one that seems to have so many origin energy in your body. Hey, say something." At first, Tianyang could not be bothered to listen to what the young girl was chattering about. However, as he listened, Tianyang felt that something was wrong. The young girl's question seemed to be a little strange. "What did you say? Jiang Xian, come back." Just as Tianyang was about to listen carefully, a cold shout suddenly rang out. The leader of the Jiang clan, who was close to the demigod realm, looked coldly at Tianyang and said, "People from outside the territory, stay away from her." Hearing this, the young girl immediately pursed her lips and ran back to where the Jiang clan was. Tianyang's expression froze for a moment, then relaxed. Now was not the time for Tianyang and the Jiang clan to clash. She was just a young girl with a strange sensing ability. She was not worthy of his attention. After that, Tianyang stood where he was and waited for Hao Shao's sacred mountain to open. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless air-piercing sounds rang out at this moment. Then, countless spatial cracks opened up. Among them, almost 30 people flew out from the largest one. The leader almost instantly locked onto Tianyang's location. Tianyang looked over and the corner of his mouth curled up. Although they had never met, he knew who this person was. Chapter 1507. Lin Fenghua. Tianyang's expression changed instantly. His lips curled into a provocative smile. Seeing this, Lin Fenghua's expression darkened. Then, he quickly recovered. In these 3 days, Lin Fenghua had not been idle. He had activated his intelligence network to investigate this person who dared to plant a death trap in the bodies of his underlings, Zhang Ming and Ling Fei, and even used their lives to leave behind those 4 words. Although Tianyang had only been in the God realm for less than 10 days, he had already made a name for himself in Qingyuan City and even the entire Xuanhua dynasty. The Great Sun Sect's intelligence network also obtained Tianyang's face immediately. Therefore, Lin Fenghua immediately locked onto Tianyang. Ha ha! Everyone, it's been a long time. I wonder how many of you have missed me, fighting 10 parties? Just as Lin Fenghua was about to speak, a loud and wild voice came from the sky. In the next moment, a black dot rapidly expanded in the sky. Tianyang's attention was also attracted by this person who suddenly appeared. And the moment this person appeared, Yi Zichen's expression changed. The leader of the Jiang clan, Lin Fenghua of the Great Sun Sect, and a group of people who were not weak all had a slight change in their expressions. Fighting 10 parties? Why did this guy come out? The leader of the Jiang clan said through gritted teeth. In the next moment, the black dot enlarged into a human figure. Lin Fenghua? Jiang Haoshuan? 5 states? Ha ha, old friends. Long time no see. The figure laughed wantonly. Hearing this, Lin Fenghua, the leader of the Jiang clan, and another peak holy emperor who was close to becoming a demigod all had ugly expressions. Fighting 10 parties. Why did you come out? The leader of the Jiang clan, Jiang Haoshuan, shouted, Weren't you exiled to the Nether Spring underworld by the Zhan clan's patriarch? Why are you back? Hearing that, Lin Fenghua nodded with a grave look on his face. Compared to Tianyang, his expression was much more solemn. Banished? Hearing this, the figure's eyes widened. I'm going to the Nether Spring underworld to train. How can it be called banishment? My father saw that I was too weak back then, so he sent me to the Nether Spring underworld to train. Let me tell you, the barbecued meat of the underworld's soul corpse dogs is very fragrant. The Nether Spring underworld isn't anything special, but the demon beasts there are very delicious. Let me tell you, they are really delicious. Fighting 10 parties shouted. Hearing this, everyone at the foot of Vast Sky's sacred mountain was speechless. The Nether Spring underworld. Who doesn't know that damned place? The most precious place in the Cloud Fire territory was undoubtedly Vast Sky's sacred mountain. Similarly, the most terrifying place in the Cloud Fire territory was the Nether Spring underworld. Legend has it that in ancient times, there was a person who became a god with the death origin and cultivated to the peak of the god realm. He fought with someone in the Nether Spring underworld. In the end, the aftermath of the battle didn't change for countless years, and it was still terrifying and devouring people. That place was the nightmare of countless people in the Cloud Fire territory. The Fighting 10 parties was sent to that damned place by the Zhan clan's patriarch because he got into big trouble back then. In the end, the Fighting 10 parties didn't die and came back? Oh, why aren't you talking? The Fighting 10 parties looked down at the dead silence and said in surprise, Are you all convinced by my handsomeness? Although this is the truth, don't make it too obvious. I'll be very shy. Hearing this, even though Tianyang didn't know who the Fighting 10 parties was and didn't know what kind of damned place the Nether Spring underworld was, the corners of his mouth twitched. Tianyang didn't know if this person was strong or not, but he was despicable enough. It seems that everyone welcomes me back. I won't stand on ceremony then. The figure chuckled and appeared in the middle of countless forces in a flash. Seeing this, Lin Fenghua, Jiang Haoshuan, Wu Zhou, and the others' eyes flashed. The next moment, terrifying attacks close to that of a demigod erupted. Flames, wind, metal storm, and even other people launched attacks on the Fighting 10 parties. just as the fighting 10 parties landed and before he could stabilize himself. Seeing this, the fighting 10 parties smiled slightly and narrowed his eyes. There seemed to be a flash of lightning. It would appear that your welcome is truly warm. The next moment, purple lightning flashed and thousands of spear shadows appeared. Purple lightning bloomed from the tip of the long spear in the fighting 10 parties' hands and shot out in all directions. A series of powerful attacks around him were weakened by this purple lightning. Then, the fighting 10 parties raised his right hand and suddenly swung the long spear in a big circle. Lightning surged. Boom, 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 boom. A series of loud noises erupted at this moment. The fighting 10 parties' smile gradually disappeared. He swung the long spear in his hand and then stabbed it into the ground. Suddenly, 8 cracks, with the fighting 10 parties as the center, were torn apart in all directions. I'll say the ugly words first. The fighting 10 parties said slowly. This time, I didn't come back to repeat it a second time. Hearing this, Lin Fenghua, Jiang Haoxuan, Wu Zhou, and the others who attacked before also became serious. I didn't expect that after a trip to the Nether Spring Abyss, not only did you break through to the half-step demigod realm, but you also repaired your purple lightning divine spear. Moreover, the Zhan family's patriarch actually agreed to let you bring this divine weapon. Jiang Haoxuan said lightly. Previously, the fighting 10 parties directly shattered the attacks of the 3 prodigies with one spear. It was not because the fighting 10 parties' absolute strength surpassed the sum of the 3 prodigies. Most of it was because of this purple lightning divine spear. One of the few incomplete divine weapons of the Zhan family, now it was repaired. This time, the Cloud Fire Dao competition is extraordinary. Of course, the fighting 10 parties, came back to reap some benefit. Hearing this, the fighting 10 parties smiled and returned to his previous appearance. Hearing this, Lin Fenghua and Jiang Haoxuan's expressions also changed. The Zhan family was quite mysterious. Although they were not weak, they did not expand their influence and had been quietly living in seclusion in a small dynasty. However, because of the Zhan family's powerful strength, the Great Sun Sect and other overlords of the Cloud Fire territory had to give the Zhan family face and leave a few spots for them. One of the reasons was that the Zhan family had connections with the mysterious heaven-seeking pavilion. In fact, the Zhan family's clansmen were also proficient in this field. Coming from the Zhan family's Zhan Shifang's mouth, the significance was not ordinary. However, I haven't seen you for more than 10 years, but you haven't changed much. The fighting 10 parties laughed and then walked to where the Jiang clan was. Don't you think so, little sister Jiang Xian? The fighting 10 parties came in front of the girl from the Jiang clan and smiled. Fighting 10 parties, stay away from Jiang Xian. Seeing this, Jiang Haoxuan said coldly. The fighting 10 parties did not care at all and continued to talk to Jiang Xian with a smile. Jiang Xian blinked her big eyes a few times, then revealed a devilish smile and pointed at a person. Not necessarily. For example, the one over there, super powerful. Jiang Xian said loudly. Chapter 1508. Him. Hearing this, the fighting 10 parties were stunned. They followed Jiang Xian's gaze and looked at Tianyang. Tianyang's expression also changed slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Was this girl from the Jiang clan really not afraid of being beaten up? That's strange. Sister Jiang Xian actually said that there was someone very powerful at the Cloud Fire Dao Forum this time. The fighting 10 parties chuckled, then looked at Tianyang with shining eyes. Also, I haven't seen this person before. I don't know where this person came from. Maybe I can get to know you and invite you to the Great Sun Sect one day. As he spoke, the fighting 10 parties wanted to pat Tianyang's shoulder. However, Tianyang moved silently and dodged the pat. My background is ordinary. I'm sure this half-step demigod wouldn't know, so there's no value in talking about it. Tianyang smiled faintly. Although he was polite, he still kept people at arm's length. According to Tianyang's plan, when the vast sky godly mountain opened, he would immediately go in and take the treasure left behind by the vast sky emperor and refine it on the spot. He might even let the true destruction flames devour the spiritual fire of the Saint Emperor Lai Yen. Tianyang was too lazy to provoke the forces in the cloud fire territory. Only Jiang Xian from the Jiang clan was a little interesting. However, Tianyang didn't care too much about her. "Oh brother, you're not interesting." Hearing this, the Fighting 10 parties suddenly dragged out his tone and said, "Back then, even Lin Fenghua and Jiang Haoxuan, who didn't like me at first sight, told me about their backgrounds. Now they're welcoming me so warmly." Hearing this, Jiang Haoxuan from the Jiang clan and Lin Fenghua from the Great Sun sect, who didn't intend to pay attention to the Fighting 10 parties, looked extremely upset. "Warmly welcome? Without your purple lightning divine spear, you would be lying on the ground right now." However, Jiang Haoxuan and the others were too lazy to clash with the Fighting 10 parties at this moment. From their point of view, rather than provoking trouble when vast sky divine mountain was about to open, it was better to start the battle after encountering the opportunity. That way, if they won, they would at least get the spoils of war. Even if they won, other hostile forces would seize the opportunity. They might even lose their treasures in the vast sky divine mountain. Previously, the Fighting 10 parties' joint attack was more than enough. "So, brother, at least give me a name?" The Fighting 10 parties casually swung the purple lightning godly spear in his hand and laughed. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression was calm as he said indifferently, "Yang Tian." "Yang Tian, is it? I've seen little sister Jiang Xian so many times, but I've never seen her praise anyone. Today you were praised, I'm not convinced." The Fighting 10 parties smiled slightly and said, "So, when we meet at Vast Sky Divine Mountain, I'd like to have a try with you. I'm looking forward to it." Tianyang's expression didn't change at all as he said, "Half-step demigod, compared to Lin Fenghua, Jiang Haoxuan, and the 5 prefectures, he was much stronger. Coupled with the divine artifact-level purple lightning godly spear, the threat was indeed huge. However, Tianyang didn't mean to be afraid. If it really didn't work, he would use all 7 sources and activate the sky-devouring secret technique. Whoever came would have to kneel. Big brother, just fight once." Xian is curious. Seeing that the Fighting 10 parties didn't intend to fight immediately, Jiang Xian suddenly pursed her lips and said, "Xian really wants to know big brother's strength." Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change at all. Originally, as a passerby hidden in the crowd, no one paid attention to him except for Lin Fenghua or the Giant Sun sect. However, with just a few words from Jiang Xian, even Lin Fenghua's attention was attracted by the Fighting 10 parties. Sensing the curious, disdainful, and interested gazes from around him, Tianyang understood. Even if he wanted to keep a low profile, it was impossible. Tianyang didn't have a good impression of this girl who looked innocent and cute but was actually full of evil tricks. "Yang Tian, right? Although Jiang Xian thinks you are very strong, I don't think you are qualified to get close to Jiang Xian. So, even if you are in Vast Sky Divine Mountain, I advise you to stay away from her." Jiang Haoxuan frowned and snorted coldly. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. An imperceptible light flashed in his eyes. If Jiang Haoxuan only said this once or twice, Tianyang might have ignored it. However, Jiang Haoxuan was so rude to Tianyang and the Fighting 10 parties. Apart from this person being a pervert, there was only one possibility. Jiang Xian was definitely not ordinary. Connecting this to her powerful perception ability, Tianyang was extremely curious. Could it be that Jiang Xian had some special constitution that allowed her to have a powerful perception ability? Tianyang knew a lot of similar constitutions, but unfortunately, most of the knowledge he accumulated was useless in the realm of the gods. If he knew what kind of constitution Jiang Xian had, perhaps it would be much easier to deal with her. In Tianyang's heart, The Jiang clan had almost become an imaginary enemy. Rumble. At this moment, just as Lin Fenghua was about to say something to Tianyang, a loud sound suddenly rang out. Everyone's expression changed slightly, and a fanatical light flashed in their eyes. They immediately took out their cloud fire path tokens. In the next moment, a mysterious light burst out. The cloud fire path tokens in everyone's hands were instantly shattered. The vast power within suddenly rushed out and merged with the shunguang that was shot out from the peak of vast sky sacred mountain. The token is broken, the sacred mountain is open. Someone roared. They all knew that the cloud fire path tokens were really useful, and not some bullsh *T symbol of the cloud fire territory. Instead, it was the vast sky divine power that was sealed in the token of cloud fire path by the sects and forces of the great gods of cloud fire territory that had taken action and obtained a trace of the power of vast sky godly mountain. The so-called cloud fire path was a question. It was the Tao of vast sky sacred mountain. Tianyang, don't take out the token. You have condensed the vast sky origin, so you don't need to break the token. The vast energy within this cloud fire path seeking token comes from the vast energy of 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 the vast energy. It is much stronger than the vast energy of the both of us. The vast sky Holy Spirit's voice rang out. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Just as his token was about to shatter, he used the space-time origin to seal it and threw out a vast power. This vast power looked exactly the same as the other cloud fire path tokens that had shattered and flew out. It also successfully merged with the token. Tianyang suddenly felt that there was a strange connection between him and vast sky sacred mountain. Ding! A clear and crisp sound rang out, causing the entire space to tremble. In the next moment, countless people holding the tokens disappeared from vast sky sacred mountain and were transported to the interior of vast sky sacred mountain. P.S. Sorry. I forgot to update this chapter regularly. Chapter 1509. Beams of powerful and blazing light were released in the area. Even though Tianyang had mastered the vast expanse power, in front of the vast expanse Emperor Lord's powerful energy, he still lost control of his position temporarily. However, compared to the others, Tianyang was stronger. The others were surrounded by the vast expanse Emperor Lord's vast expanse power and could only be blinded. However, Tianyang was able to determine his position. This vast expanse sacred mountain is a little strange. It seems like there's no way to send you directly into the depths of the vast expanse sacred mountain to get the treasures. So, you can stay outside for a while, the vast expanse sacred spirit said, as if it had encountered a situation. Hearing that, Tianyang's eyes flickered, but he did not say anything. The vast expanse Emperor Lord was a powerful existence in the godly state. Even though the vast expanse sacred spirit had devoured the vast expanse sacred palace and recovered most of its memories, it still could not remember how powerful the vast expanse Emperor Lord was. For such an existence, the vast expanse sacred spirit was not in its complete form, so it could not do whatever it wanted for the time being. However, I can send you to a better place. As for what happens next, it's up to you. After the vast expanse sacred spirit said one last time, it went completely silent. It focused on dealing with the vast expanse Emperor Lord's seal. As for Tianyang, he was one step ahead of it and came to the inner part of the vast expanse sacred mountain. Tianyang sensed the strong and rich vast expanse power around him and raised his eyebrows. It seemed like the vast expanse sacred mountain's vast expanse power was not as strong as he had imagined. However, Tianyang was not surprised. The vast expanse sacred mountain was so huge that it was comparable to a realm. This was the outermost area, so it was normal that the vast expanse power was not as strong as he had imagined. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the vast expanse sacred mountain was strong. Tianyang only took a casual breath, and he could feel that his limbs and bones were being nourished by the pure and rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was as if his entire body had been cleansed of all impurities. However, before Tianyang could take a closer look at his surroundings, something flashed beside him. In the next moment, a bright light flashed, and a figure appeared 100 feet away from Tianyang. "Someone's here?" Seeing someone, the figure who had just appeared was stunned. Didn't they say that no one else would appear within a radius of 5 miles around the vast sky-sacred mountain? However, it doesn't matter. This vast sky-sacred mountain is so mysterious. Although the Great Sun Sect, the Jiang clan, and the other forces are strong, they won't be able to understand it. As he spoke, a cold smile appeared on that person's face. Then, the first drop of blood of vast sky godly mountain will be created by me, Li Yan. The next moment, the figure let out a low roar and charged towards Tianyang. Crazy! Seeing this, Tianyang immediately frowned. Nothing had happened yet, and this guy was already courting death? Earth explosion! Li Yan roared and slammed his hands on the ground. Instantly, the ground within a 1-mile radius exploded. Waves of powerful earth energy charged towards Tianyang. Die! Li Yan's face was ferocious. Taking advantage of the earth energy attacking Tianyang, his figure flashed and a mysterious seal appeared in his hands. In a flash, he appeared behind Tianyang and aimed a seal at Tianyang. "Get lost!" Tianyang frowned and snorted coldly. Boom! The surging power of the earth and the mysterious power of the seal were instantly shattered by this sound wave. The double impact acted on Li Yan. Li Yan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Tianyang in disbelief. How can this be? He was ranked 250th on the Hidden Dragon list in the Cloud Fire territory. He was almost 170 years old, and he was a peerless genius who had reached the level of a half-holy emperor. He had never seen this person before. He was definitely not someone on the Hidden Dragon list. How could he be so powerful? The word "get lost" had completely destroyed his 2 attacks that had almost never missed. Damn it! I'm going to run. In less than a second, Li Yan roared in a low voice. His figure flashed and a talisman appeared in his hand. On it there was a silver light of space flashing. Still want to run? Seeing this, Tianyang casually stretched out his hand. The space-time origin fluctuated slightly and disrupted the talisman that had just been activated. At the same time, Tianyang's hand passed through a space-time gate. Then, it seemed to be broken into 2. It grabbed Li Yan's neck. "WH." Seeing this, Li Yan's pupils contracted and he looked at the hand that appeared on his neck in disbelief. The main body of the hand was 100 meters away from him. However, because of the 2 strange space-time gates, it grabbed him from 100 meters away. This was the application of the space-time origin. It was too powerful. Bang! In the next moment, Tianyang retracted his hand. Li Yan was also pulled back. His face hit the air, and even created a series of sonic booms. Tianyang did not kill him immediately because Tianyang still had many things to ask him. Li Yan could not suppress the double backlash. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura weakened. It had only been a few dozen seconds since he had been transported to the vast sky godly mountain and attacked. In a few dozen seconds, the son-in-law of the Sima family in Yonghua country, half-holy Emperor Li Yan, ranked 250th on the Hidden Dragon list, was caught by a nobody on the Hidden Dragon list. "Who are you?" Li Yan roared in a low voice and stared at Tianyang. There were not many holy emperors who could take care of him so quickly. Although there were countless holy emperors in the Cloud Fire territory, there were not many holy emperors who were as young as him. However, Li Yan did not have any impression of him. "It doesn't matter who I am." Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. Streaks of sharp air gushed out of his palm. "However, if you don't give me a good explanation, your life is not important either." 3 minutes later, Tianyang successfully obtained specific information about the vast sky godly mountain from Li Yin. Previously, when he asked Zhang Ming and Ling Fei of the Great Sun sect, Tianyang did not know much about them, so he did not ask too much. After entering, he realized that he lacked information. Fortunately, a head and the source of the information were sent over. The vast sky godly mountain was somewhat different from what Tianyang had imagined. First of all, the vast sky godly mountain was not a secret realm filled with treasures. Instead, it was a trial ground with 9 layers of seals that went up layer by layer. In the trial grounds, in addition to killing for treasures, Li Yin had also killed in order to eliminate his opponent. In the vast sky godly mountain, everyone was an opponent. Everyone had a way to die. It was as if it was a wrestling ring. The 9 layers of seals sealed the opportunities of the vast sky godly mountain. At the same time, it also isolated the inside and outside of the vast sky godly mountain. Therefore, the 9 layers of seals were also called. Chapter 15:10. Vast Sky Divine Mountain, 9 Heavenly Seals. Tianyang was now in the first seal of the 9 heavenly seals. Something's not right. The heavenly emperor only left behind one treasure. Why are there so many things here? Tianyang frowned. Through the vast sky Saint Spirit, Tianyang knew much more than the people of Cloud Fire Territory, who only treated vast sky divine mountain as a training ground and treasure secret realm. According to the vast sky Saint Spirit's memory, the heavenly emperor only left behind a few treasures here and set up a few seals before leaving. The seals were only targeted at the treasures. After all, vast sky divine mountain did not exist when the heavenly emperor left behind the treasures. Naturally, it could not be the 9 heavenly seals. A reasonable guess was that the seals were leaked and the emperor's power flowed out, changing the heavens and earth and forming this secret realm. However, even if it was a secret realm, how could the 9 heavenly seals be created? It was obviously man-made. Also, there were the rules of this bloody arena. Is killing each other a rule of vast sky divine mountain, or do you think so? Tianyang asked with a frown. If it was the latter, it might not be a big deal. Hearing that, Li Yin was stunned. Of course it's the rules of vast sky divine mountain. The rules here are different from Cloud Fire Territory. Only by following the rules of vast sky divine mountain can one gain enough benefit. Killing each other, the winner takes all. Only then can one break through the first seal and enter the next seal to obtain countless opportunities. However, even the godly state almighties who explored vast sky divine mountain only went as deep as the 8 heavenly seals. The 9 heavenly seals are too powerful. Even the top almighties of Great Sun sect, Jiang clan, and 5 Spirit Saint Hall can't enter. Li Yin said. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded slightly. As far as he knew, even for the Great Sun sect that dominated the entire Cloud Fire Territory, the strongest expert was only an ordinary expert in the God realm, or perhaps slightly above average. Although the Heavens Expanse Saint Spirit did not know the exact strength of the Heavens Expanse Emperor, he was definitely at the peak of the godly state. Did they really think that they could enter the Heavens Expanse Emperor's restrictions with just a few mid-grade celestials? Don't even think about it. So, that's all you know. Tianyang rubbed his chin and said. Hearing this, Li Yin was taken aback. An imperceptible light flashed in his eyes as he said. There's one more, but it hasn't been confirmed, so it's just a guess. It's just that it's a guess from the Sima family of the Yonghua nation. I don't think it's wrong. The Grand Tutor isn't an immortal, but he's stronger than a demigod. His guess is most likely correct, Li Yin said. Hearing this, Tianyang's interest was piqued. Speak. Seeing this, Li Yin smiled. That is, you are an idiot. A seal imbued with a destructive aura slammed into Tianyang's chest. Boom, 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 boom. Streaks of terrifying and violent energy slammed into Tianyang's body. Streaks of pitch-black lightning shot out in all directions. Ha 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 ha. You think you're strong just because you can easily suppress me? You don't know that the Cloud Fire Territory's strength is not everything. I, Li Yan, am the son-in-law of the Sima family and the disciple of the Grand Tutor of the Yonghua nation. How can I be suppressed by a savage who came out of nowhere? Seeing the destructive energy bombarding Tianyang, Li Yan laughed maniacally. He, Li Yan, was the fifth-ranked genius in the Yonghua nation, one of the strongest countries in the Cloud Fire Territory. He should have created endless glory in the Cloud Fire Path Forum. How could he die in the hands of an ignorant savage? Because of a few words, he let his guard down. He was indeed an idiot. It's a little itchy. At this moment, a voice sounded. Li Yan's unbridled laughter suddenly froze. Then, a flame suddenly rose up. It was not the true destructive flames, but the undying divine flame. Although Tianyang's body was still made of flesh and blood, the undying divine flame had been imprinted in all his cells. As long as he was attacked, the undying divine flame would defend him internally. If the attack was stronger, a ball of undying divine flame would ignite. With the undying divine flame's defense, even a holy emperor or Tianyang would not be able to injure him much, let alone a full-powered attack from a half-holy emperor. You? How is this possible? This is the black fire lotus seal that the Grand Tutor, my master, gave me. It can even kill a holy emperor. Li Yan's body trembled as he looked at the person in front of him in disbelief. Hearing this, Tianyang raised an eyebrow. What black fire lotus seal? Then Tianyang retracted the undying divine flame and saw the lotus amidst the destructive flames. It was the spiritual fire. However, it was only a small part of the spiritual fire, and it was consumable. Once it was used up, it would be gone. There was no value in devouring it. Tianyang sighed when he realized this. If it was a spiritual fire, the true flames of annihilation would be an extra meal right now. As for Li Yan, since he already knew what he knew, there was no point in keeping him. Wait. Seeing the faint killing intent in Tianyang's eyes, Li Yan panicked and shouted, Actually, my master really has a guess. Not interested. Tianyang stretched out his hand, and the true destructive flames burned. You dare to kill me? When the scorching flames touched Li Yan, a piece of Li Yan's skin instantly died. Li Yan's eyes widened as he said savagely, How dare you kill me? I'm the fifth genius of the Yunhua nation in the Cloud Fire Territory, the 250th on the Hidden Dragon ranking, the disciple of the Yunhua nation's national preceptor, and the son-in-law of the Sima family. How dare you kill me? Li Yan roared angrily. Tianyang pointed his finger indifferently. In an instant, Li Yan's entire body was ignited by Tianyang. No! In an instant, Li Yan's body turned into ashes. Li Yan's pupils constricted as he roared angrily. The true destructive flames also began to burn Li Yan's primordial spirit. Wait, the Yunhua nation and the Sima family will avenge me. Li Yan roared, and in the next moment, he actually self-destructed his primordial spirit. Boom! There was a deafening explosion. Tianyang looked at the primordial spirit fireworks in the air with a calm expression. He knew that Li Yan had already sent a message to the entire vast sky sacred mountain. However, would Tianyang care? With a wave of his hand, Li Yan's interspatial storage bag was summoned by Tianyang. After a casual glance, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. I don't have the spiritual fire, but it's not bad to have this. A demonic flame lotus bloomed in it. Chapter 15:11. The Extreme Flame Heart Lotus. Tianyang hadn't expected that Li Yan's space bag would contain such a powerful treasure. Tianyang didn't have any records of the Extreme Flame Heart Lotus in his myriad pill cannon. However, because he'd stayed in the Dragon Demons, the Void Mountain, and other places for a long time, he'd obtained a lot of information about the God Realm. Tianyang also had some understanding of this treasure from the God Realm. The extreme flame heart lotus was born in an extremely hot place. It wasn't a plant, but it took the shape of a lotus. Extreme flame referred to the place where the extreme flame heart lotus was born and its own characteristic. The heart lotus was one of the great abilities of the extreme flame heart lotus. Devouring and refining the extreme flame heart lotus could not only strengthen one's spirit fire, but also use the power of the extreme flame heart lotus to refine one's primordial spirit and forge one's spirit. On the path of martial arts, one's spirit underwent 3 transformations. The first was at birth, when one's chaotic and scattered consciousness turned into a spirit. It would remain a spirit all the way to the Wu Zun realm. The only difference was the strength of the spirit. The second was at the instant when one entered the Wu Zun realm from the heavenly ascension realm. When one's primordial spirit entered the Wu Zun realm, one's spirit would become a primordial spirit. A primordial spirit was much more solid and powerful than an ordinary spirit. Ordinary spirits could only control a handful of offensive techniques, such as charging, assassinating, and suppressing. A primordial spirit had the same strong plasticity as primordial spirit. For example, Tianyang's godly piercing blade, the ice spirit secret technique, and various other primordial spirit secret technique. From a certain perspective, once one entered the Wu Zun realm, the primordial spirit seemed to have the upper hand in terms of primordial spirit and primordial spirit. The third transformation was to enter the God realm from the Holy Emperor realm, transcend mortality, and enter the God realm. The primordial spirit would shed its mortal primordial spirit and transform into a primordial spirit that was essentially a combination of the God realm. Similarly, when one entered the God realm, primordial spirit would transform into divine power. Primordial spirit and primordial spirit were worlds apart. However, the extreme flame lotus in Tianyang's possession had the effect of increasing the success rate of transforming one's soul into a soul. Even if he failed, it would be enough to strengthen his essence soul. From this, one could see how powerful the extreme flame heart lotus was. However, the rest are just a bunch of trash. There isn't even a divine artifact that can be used. Tianyang looked around and sighed. Apart from the extreme flame heart lotus, the rest were not even as good as the Saint Emperor Lai Yen that Tianyang had killed. That made sense. Besides the fact that he was in the divine world, Li Yen was only a half-holy emperor. It was expected that he would be weaker than a holy emperor. Being able to obtain the extreme flame heart lotus was already an unexpected surprise. Releasing the power of his soul, Tianyang used the power of his soul to scan everything within 100 kilometers of him to take out the heart lotus. There was no time like the present. Danger lurked in every corner of the vast sky divine mountain. Not only was there Saint Emperor Lai Yan's rank 8 sacred flame, there was also the extreme flame heart lotus that he had just obtained from Li Yen. In addition, he was still in the first seal of the 9 heavenly seals of the vast sky divine mountain. The area was enormous, and there was not a single person within 100 kilometers of him. It could be said that this was the best opportunity to refine the extreme flame heart lotus and activate the 10,000 divine flames to increase the power of his true flames of destruction. Boom! Tianyang made a prompt decision. He immediately activated his primordial spirit and blasted a huge hole in the ground. Then, his primordial spirit dispersed and turned into countless primordial spirit chains. Countless primordial spirit lines connected together to form a mysterious pattern. Formation in the void. Tianyang had been dead for 3 years, but because of his inextinguishable will, he was still alive in the immortal prince's immortal flame. However, he was only left with a trace of consciousness to preserve his origin. He could not do anything else. Therefore, in these 3 years, Tianyang did not have a primordial spirit, or primordial spirit. He could only study alchemy and formations continuously. Therefore, Tianyang had absorbed and digested everything he knew about alchemy and formations. he had successfully formed the two great origins. Right now, Heavenly Sun was using the Array Dao origin source. Countless runes and patterns intersected. Unparalleled power gathered crazily. Soon, one after another, complex formations were formed. The formations had only been formed and had not been completely set up. However, waves of powerful energy fluctuations had been successfully released. Streams of defensive, offensive, and hidden forces were unleashed. Withdraw! Tianyang shouted. The released waves of energy were withdrawn by Tianyang. However, Tianyang stood in the middle of the countless formations. He was still as dazzling as a god. Release! With a wave of his hand, the countless formations released a dazzling light. Layers of formations covered an area of 100 miles. Even if a heavenly emperor or even a half-god passed by, they would definitely not discover the existence of so many formations here if they did not pay attention. That was because Tianyang had also injected a trace of chaotic aura outside of the formation origins. With so many formations, even if a heavenly emperor 10 times stronger than Zhang Mingling and Ling Fei were here, they would be wiped out in an instant without being affected at all. As long as it's not Lin Fenghua, the Fighting 10 parties, or Jiang Haoshuan who are close to half-gods or half-step half-gods, this is the safest place. Tianyang smiled and sat cross-legged on the ground. The true flames of destruction began to burn. In an instant, the extreme flame heart lotus was devoured and burned to ashes. This was the best way to use the extreme flame heart lotus. It was directly integrated into the spirit fire. If it was consumed, who knew how much essence would be lost? The first second was still very calm. The second, boom! Blazing and dazzling flames almost illuminated the entire sky. The rolling power of the flames rushed into the true flames of destruction like a raging torrent. At this moment, even the true flames of destruction, which had merged with several powerful spirit fires and had reached the peak of the level 8 sacred flames, almost exploded its origins. If the true flames of destruction's origins were to explode, then all of Tianyang's efforts over the years would go down the drain. 10,000 godly flames, activate! A sharp glint flashed across Tianyang's eyes. With a cold snort, waves of unparalleled refining power were released. As for the true flames of destruction, after withstanding the first wave of the extreme flame torrent, it also withstood the second wave. As the 10,000 godly flames activated, it was also safe in the torrent. Then, it devoured wildly. Now is the time. Seeing this, Tianyang's eyes focused and he threw his right hand. A ball of flame was thrown out by Tianyang. In an instant it sank into the true flames of destruction's origins. At the same time, the origins of chaos erupted rapidly, releasing waves of pure chaos chi into the true flames of destruction. The divine wilderness heavenly spirit art was activated, and the 10,000 godly flames was completely activated. The true flames of destruction became stronger and stronger. Stepping into level 9 was only a matter of time. And at this moment, Tianyang's eyes suddenly became unfocused. Chapter 15:12. Extreme Flame Heart Lotus, the Power of the Heart. The most precious thing about the Extreme Flame Heart Lotus was not the immense power of extreme flame contained within, but the powerful power of the heart hidden behind the power of extreme flame. If he only wanted the power of extreme flame, Tianyang would not have been so impatient to set up the formation and prepare to devour the extreme flame heart lotus. After all, although the true flames of destruction were still very powerful after reaching level 9, it would not increase Tianyang's combat strength by much. However, with the addition of the power of the heart, it was completely different. If he succeeded in condensing his spirit, Tianyang could kill everyone on Vast Sky Divine Mountain with a single glance. Of course, the possibility of this happening was less than 1 in 10,000. Tianyang did not hope for it, but it was necessary to greatly strengthen the power of the primordial spirit. Now that the true flames of destruction can use the divine flames of 10,000 elephant to devour the power of extreme flame of the extreme flame heart lotus and the spiritual fire of the Saint Emperor Lai Yen, there's no need for me anymore. Therefore, I can devour the tremendous power of the heart in the extreme flame heart lotus now. The corners of Tianyang's mouth curled. In the next moment, he released his primordial spirit and madly devoured the power of the extreme flame heart lotus. Boom! A loud noise exploded in Tianyang's soul sea. Tianyang only felt that his primordial spirit was about to be burned and blown apart. His entire person sank into a dazed state of chaos. However, Tianyang was not to be trifled with. Since he had decided to devour, he naturally had the confidence. Streaks of undying divine flames burned in his soul sea, directly devouring half of the torrent of heart that had invaded Tianyang's soul sea. At the same time, Tianyang formed a seal with both hands, and the power of his primordial spirit rippled. Secret skill of ice spirits. However, this secret skill of ice spirits was not released against the extreme flame heart lotus, but against Tianyang himself. Tianyang's primordial spirit was directly frozen by streaks of ice spirits, and even his actions of connecting down were much slower. However, the second wave of torrent of heart from the extreme flame heart lotus came crashing down once again. The secret skill of ice spirits shattered, but the torrent of heart lotus was also greatly depleted and absorbed by Tianyang's primordial spirit. Condense, impact, collision, shatter, absorb. In just a few short seconds, these 5 steps were repeated over and over again. The massive amount of heart power contained within the extreme flame heart lotus was also continuously absorbed by Tianyang. The power of Tianyang's soul skyrocketed as well, reaching the peak of the Saint Emperor realm. At this realm, he only needed one piercing god saber to kill Zhang Ming and Ling Fei, no matter how many of them there were. However, Tianyang was not satisfied. Transcending mortality and entering sainthood, transcending sainthood and entering godhood. The Saint Emperor realm was still within the Saint realm. What Tianyang wanted was to use the extreme flame heart lotus to transcend sainthood and enter divinity, even if it was only half a step. Boom! A loud sound rang out in Tianyang's mind. Tianyang's expression did not change, but his brows gradually furrowed. Although Tianyang had devoured most of the heart force within the heart lotus and reached the peak of Saint King, no Saint King's soul was more powerful than his. However, he was still a step away from the divine Tao. Just which step is it? Tianyang frowned. Although the Xiantian major world had many connections with the divine world, the Xiantian major world did not possess some of the orthodoxies that belonged to the divine world. Even now, Tianyang did not know what the greatest difference between the divine realm and the Saint Emperor realm was. The Saint Emperor condensed the origin of heaven and earth. Then where could he break through to the divine realm? Tianyang pondered deeply. He had a feeling that if he understood this point, his path to the divine realm would be smooth sailing. If he did not, he might be stuck in the Saint Emperor realm for a long time. The path of cultivation is to defy the heavens and seize fate. The power of heaven and earth is obtained and turned into one's own. The Saint Emperor realm has already obtained the origin of heaven and earth. In terms of using the power of heaven and earth, one has almost reached the limit. Then what's next? Light flashed through Tianyang's eyes. He seemed to have understood something, but he still could not grasp it. At this moment, the origin of chaos in Tianyang's dantian spun slightly. Chaos airflow suffused Tianyang's surroundings. The next moment, Tianyang's pupils constricted. The power of heaven and earth is already exhausted. What's next is to change heaven and earth. After the origin, there's already no path. Breaking away from heaven and earth and mastering the laws is the divine Tao. Usually, it was often said that martial Tao powerhouses could change heaven and earth with a raise of their hands and feet. But this was merely a change in the terrain and weather. while the divine Tao that Tianyang had just comprehended was to change heaven and earth above the foundation of heaven and earth, above the laws of all things. Laws followed with words, forming heaven and earth with a thought. It was merely a change of laws. Mortal realm relied on the power of heaven and earth. Saint realm used the power of heaven and earth, while divine realm controlled the power of heaven and earth. With this thought, everything suddenly became clear. The origin of chaos in his dantian also started trembling rapidly, as if it was going to undergo some kind of metamorphosis. Since that's the case, then divine Tao laws condense. Tianyang gave a low cry. One after another, divine chains of order formed in Tianyang's soul sea, surrounding the powerful heart force that came from the extreme flame heart lotus. Following that, they devoured and became stronger. The devouring of the heart force also surpassed the previous pure devouring, turning it into one's own. With a thought, Tianyang's heart force turned into countless sturdy divine Tao laws, moving freely in Tianyang's soul sea. A fortress belonging to the divine Tao was forged with divine chains of order as the skeleton and heart force as the flesh and blood. Boom! One after another, powerful and unparalleled pressure erupted from Tianyang's body. Immediately, the winds and clouds of heaven and earth abruptly changed. Bolts of lightning that could destroy heaven and earth were about to descend, blasting Tianyang to nothing. Inside vast sky divine mountain. Someone broke through to divine realm? Jiang Haoshuan's expression changed at once, looking at the sky in disbelief. Lin Fenghua? Wu Zhou or fighting 10 parties? Following that, Jiang Haoshuan gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Just you wait. Even if I, Jiang Haoshuan, fall behind, I won't be weaker than you. Fighting 10 parties just broke through to half-step demigod. Looking at the situation now, he should have condensed divine Tao laws. It's unlikely that it's fighting 10 parties, but Lin Fenghua hasn't fought for a long time. It's not impossible that he obtained an opportunity in vast sky divine mountain and broke through in one go. Wu Zhou's expression darkened as he muttered to himself, "Looks like I have to work harder too." Meanwhile, Lin Fenghua stood outside Tianyang's array, looking at the rapidly fluctuating array in front of him. Traces of astonishment appeared on his face. Even I didn't notice these array formations? Following that, he looked up and his eyes widened. Divine Tao laws? The great change in the weather and the condensation of divine Tao laws directly shocked everyone. As for the instigator of all this, he sighed from within the grand formation. Still a little short. In his soul ocean, the divine Tao laws formed a small person. Unfortunately, although the small person had a skeleton, its strength was still insufficient. Right now, it was only half condensed. At this moment, Lin Fenghua's expression darkened and he snorted coldly. No matter who you are, don't even think about breaking through in front of me. Chapter 15:13. Bang! The sounds of formations exploding rang out. Tianyang, who had been immersed in the divine Tao nomological laws, narrowed his eyes. Someone wants to die just after breaking through? In the next moment, the power of his half-step divine soul suddenly erupted. Tianyang charged in the direction he sensed. No one had come to die when he had devoured the blazing flame Saint King's spirit fire and advanced the true flames of destruction to the 9th level. Now that his divine soul was half-step divine soul, someone couldn't wait to deliver their head to him? Since that was the case, Tianyang would satisfy him. The divine Tao nomological laws appeared at the same time as the formation was disrupted and forced to reveal itself. In other words, the person in the formation is someone who has formed the divine Tao nomological laws. Lin Fenghua's true yuan, which was close to that of a demigod, constantly broke Tianyang's formations. Then, the person who is breaking through must still be breaking through. If I attack, I can easily injure him. Lin Fenghua's eyes flashed with a smug light. He laughed coldly and punched out. The last formation that Tianyang had set up was destroyed by Lin Fenghua. After all, Tianyang had only set it up in a few minutes. In terms of strength, it was naturally far inferior to the 99 heavenly spiritual seals that Linglong had set up. It was enough to stop a Saint King, but it couldn't stop someone like Lin Fenghua, whose true battle strength had already surpassed a Saint King. Sword Realm, open! As Lin Fenghua destroyed the last formation and charged into the depths of the formation, a cold shout suddenly rang out. Then, sharp and fierce swords viciously charged toward Lin Fenghua. At the same time, waves of pressure that belonged to the Sword Realm also appeared. What? Lin Fenghua's expression changed greatly. His pupils contracted as he growled, "Break for me!" Lin Fenghua's body began to burn. Then, a pure golden armor appeared on Lin Fenghua's body. Gungjin battle armor. Fist shaking all lives. Lin Fenghua roared and threw a punch at the 10,000 swords. Boom! A powerful and imperious gust of wind swept forward like a real storm, suppressing, destroying the 10,000 swords. At the same time, the metal origin domain was unleashed. Who dares to sneak attack me? Lin Fenghua roared angrily and released a powerful pressure that broke through Tianyang's Sword Realm seal and charged towards Tianyang. However, what faced him was not the face of his enemy as he had imagined. Instead, it was a sword light that was over 1,000 miles long. Lin Fenghua's expression changed drastically. He did not have time to roar. He released the inner yuan of a peak holy king and slammed it against the sword light. However, even so, it did not seem to have any intention of stopping the sword light's power. Boom! Lin Fenghua spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Waves of sword light swept past his skin, causing blood to spurt out. Bang! With a muffled sound, Lin Fenghua knelt on the ground, creating a huge crater with a diameter of over 10,000 meters. Who is it? Lin Fenghua roared in his heart. He was extremely aggrieved. From the moment he broke through the formation, he did not see what his opponent looked like. He only knew that he was constantly fighting against his opponent's attacks. The Gungjin battle armor that was formed using the metal origin had been damaged greatly in the previous battle. Even his skin had been cut open. Most importantly, the origin energy of the sword Dao was constantly corroding his wounds, causing him to be unable to heal them immediately even with the strength of his powerful body. "Haven't you been looking for me?" Tianyang smiled. In a flash, he appeared in front of Lin Fenghua. Seeing this, Lin Fenghua was shocked. He raised his head and looked at Tianyang in disbelief. "Why is it you?" He had thought that the person who had formed the divine Dao law would be Jiang Haoshuan or one of the fighting 10 parties. At the very least, he would be one of the best in the 5 states. In the end, it turned out to be Tianyang, an insignificant ant that he wanted to crush with a wave of his hand? A peak heaven great saint. How can a great saint condense the divine Dao law? Lin Fenghua gritted his teeth and glared at Tianyang. At the same time, he released the power of his primordial spirit and scanned the surroundings. "Speak. Where's the person behind you? I don't believe that he wouldn't dare to come out and fight me fair and square. Someone with this kind of strength is definitely not a nobody. Is it the Middle Cloud Realm's Sword Dao Holy Venerate or the Northern Liang Realm's Thousand Swords Sovereign?" Lin Fenghua roared. His eyes were burning with anger. One of the two didn't attack immediately. Instead, he sent the ant Tianyang to humiliate him. Hearing this, Tianyang was stunned. What was that? Soon after, Tianyang understood what was going on in this person's mind. He chuckled softly. He released the power of a half-step divine soul. "Now, can you trust me?" In Tianyang's soul sea, the little person formed by the divine Dao law seemed to speak at this time. Seeing this, Lin Fenghua's face froze. What did he see? In front of him, it appeared on the body of this heaven great saint. Divine Dao law? Half-step divine soul? How is this possible? Lin Fenghua roared. The origin of metal condensed in his hand and instantly exploded. Die! The gung metal battle armor flowed into Lin Fenghua's palm like flowing water. It turned into a long sword and slashed fiercely at Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. A faint light flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, the long sword seemed to have been frozen in place. It stopped in midair. However, there was no aura of the origin of time and space, because it was Lin Fenghua himself who froze. One look was enough to freeze Lin Fenghua's primordial spirit. Is he really a half-step divine soul? In less than a second, Lin Fenghua recovered and stared at Tianyang. His heart was filled with great astonishment. But so what if he's a half-step divine soul? Lin Fenghua's lips curled into a cold smile. In the next moment, an abnormal chaotic shenguang bloomed on Lin Fenghua's body. Lin Fenghua's aura also surged at this moment. He still has a trump card? Seeing this, Tianyang was stunned. At this moment, boom! A loud sound was heard. Then, an incomparably vast beam of light shot into the sky. The energy storm that it set off instantly attracted Tianyang's attention. What's that? At this moment, Lin Fenghua's eyes lit up. The chaotic shenguang on his body disappeared instantly. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of burning blood. Yang Tian, just you wait. We'll meet again someday. In the next moment, Lin Fenghua exploded with extreme speed. In an instant, he disappeared from Tianyang's sight. Tianyang was just about to use the origin of time and space to seal the surrounding time and space. However, Lin Fenghua seemed to have some kind of trump card. In that instant, he exploded with a speed that even the 8th transformation of the boundless 9 transformations could not compare to. Seeing this, Tianyang sighed. He actually let him escape. The divine Tao law on the primordial spirit did not increase speed. Forget it. So what if he ran away? That thing is quite interesting. Chapter 15-14. At this moment, beside the huge pillar of light, many people had already gathered there. Jiang Haoshuan of the Jiang clan, as well as Jiang Xian, who had previously helped Tianyang draw a wave of hatred, were all here. Jiang Xian, take a look and see what's inside the pillar of light. Jiang Haoshuan's expression was cold as he looked at the vast expanse of whiteness inside the pillar of light. Even he couldn't sense anything from the pillar of light. Inside the pillar of light? Jiang Xian tilted her head, then closed her eyes as if in deep thought. If there was a godly realm expert here, he would be able to see it through his divine soul. The moment Jiang Xian closed her eyes, strange waves spread out in all directions with Jiang Xian as the center. Even Jiang Haoshuan's primordial spirit, a peak holy emperor, could not pass through the pillar of light. But in the face of this pillar of light, it passed through it easily as if it did not exist. After about 3 minutes, Jiang Xian opened her eyes, somewhat surprised. The thing inside the pillar of light is a little strange. I can't see it clearly. A strange light flashed in her big purple eyes. Jiang Haoshuan's expression also changed when he heard this. Immediately it became solemn. Even Jiang Xian could not see through the treasure inside the pillar of light? It gives me the feeling of that unknown person I met outside Haoxiao Divine Mountain, Jiang Xian said. Hearing this, Jiang Haoshuan's expression immediately darkened. His grip on the weapon in his hand also tightened. If Yang Tian was just an ordinary peak heavenly great saint, an incomparably weak ant, then Jiang Haoshuan would not be a big deal. However, the fighting 10 parties actually had something to do with Tianyang. Although it was because of Jiang Xian, Jiang Haoshuan still felt uncomfortable. After all, although Jiang Xian looked lively and cute, and was the only normal person in the Jiang clan. However, Jiang Haoshuan knew that all this was just a mask that Jiang Xian put on for him. In fact, there was no difference at all. But now, wasn't Jiang Xian too much attention on an insignificant ant? It's almost done. At this moment, Jiang Xian suddenly said, Hearing this, Jiang Haoshuan did not have time to think so much. His eyes narrowed, revealing a soul-stirring cold light. Since even the power of his origin spirit couldn't see through it, even Jiang Xian's powerful perception couldn't see through it. This treasure must be extraordinary. Since Jiang Haoshuan had already come here, then the treasure in this light pillar was Jiang Haoshuan's. The true yuan of a peak holy emperor, close to that of a demigod, burst out. On the side, many people were like Jiang Haoshuan, waiting for the light pillar to dissipate so that they could fight for the treasure that had caused such a great phenomenon. However, Jiang Haoshuan was here. Many people exchanged glances with each other and nodded without leaving a trace. Then, they returned to their original state and quietly waited for the moment when the light pillar dissipated. Boom, 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 boom. The explosion caused by the light pillar was weakening, and the number of people attracted by the light pillar was decreasing. As for the pillar of light, it quickly began to shrink. 10,000 meters, 1,000 meters, 100 meters, 10 feet, 1 meter, 1 foot. Just as the light surrounding the treasure completely disappeared, the light surrounding the treasure disappeared. Boom, 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 boom. The power of the divine path and the origin of heaven and earth were released at the same time. Countless great sages, holy emperors, and even the best holy emperors attacked at the same time, viciously attacking Jiang Haoshuan. On a battlefield, there was one more wolf and one more tiger. Even if these wolves were not in the same group, they would first eliminate the tiger that posed the greatest threat. These holy emperors, great sages, and people on the hidden dragon roll of the cloud fire territory were the wolves. And Jiang Haoshuan was the tiger. Hammer of storm. Electric thousand blade. Mountain and earth shattering strike. Terrifying and tyrannical attacks that shook the space erupted at the same time. Waves of pressure also pressed down on Jiang Haoshuan. And there's no need to resist. Seeing this, Jiang Haoshuan only snorted coldly. A ray of light flashed across his eyes. It was as if there was an ancient aura flashing across his eyes. A mysterious ancient word appeared in Jiang Haoshuan's eyes. Suppress. Jiang Haoshuan opened his mouth. His syllables were mysterious and cryptic. A ray of light that was invisible to the naked eye was released from Jiang Haoshuan's eyes. Boom. In an instant, the countless terrifying attacks that were enough to plow through half of the land of the cloud fire territory seemed to be hit by the palm of a giant god. Suddenly it fell, and then it shattered. The attacks launched by countless experts were reduced to nothing by Jiang Haoshuan's one word. Ants, you're just ants. Jiang Haoshuan's expression was indifferent as he said. Those who launched the attacks were all stunned on the spot. The attacks launched by so many famous geniuses on the hidden dragon roll were actually suppressed by Jiang Haoshuan's one word? One should know that there were also peak holy emperors among them. However, they had not come into contact with divine Tao nomological laws and were not close to being demigods. This is the Jiang clan, the Jiang clans. Suppressing ancient sky eyes. Someone stared fixedly at Jiang Haoshuan's eyes. His entire body suddenly trembled as he said hoarsely. Jiang Haoshuan did not have any special body constitution, but he had a pair of eyes. The suppressing ancient sky eyes that the ancestor of the ancient Jiang clan used to suppress the sky. Once the suppressing ancient sky eyes were used, as long as the attack was below the suppressing ancient sky eyes, it would be completely suppressed and collapsed. Even if the opponent's cultivation was similar, it would be difficult to compete with the suppressing ancient sky eyes unless they had some powerful magical power. To be able to become the young master of the Jiang clan and lead the geniuses of the Jiang clan, surpassing the hidden dragon roll of the cloud fire territory and becoming one of the true dragon roll of the nearby 100 territories. The suppressing ancient sky eyes, Jiang Haoshuan, lived up to his reputation. I don't believe that the suppressing ancient sky eyes of the Jiang clan is really so powerful. At this moment, a peak holy emperor who was injured by the backlash of his attack being shattered roared with bloodshot eyes. Give me your life. In the next moment, blood flames burned on that person's body. His aura skyrocketed as he charged towards Jiang Haoshuan fiercely. Someone's eyes narrowed as they looked at that man. This was the Berserker blood battle body. It was also a rather powerful body constitution. Soul-shattering blow. Suppress. Jiang Haoshuan said coldly. The mysterious ancient text appeared in the suppressing ancient sky eyes again. Boom. That peak holy emperor immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood flames on his body were extinguished instantly as he fell to the ground. Seeing this, Jiang Haoshuan shook his head and walked forward. This treasure. Jiang Haoshuan looked at the treasure that looked like a bone in front of him and frowned slightly. However, he still reached out his hand. Suddenly, there was a suction force. That white bone disappeared from Jiang Haoshuan's sight. Sorry, I'm more interested in this bone.